Chapter 1168. The corners of Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang Wan's mouths curled up at the same time, and they became happier. The messenger handed over the information, and did not stay any longer. He lowered his head and hurriedly left. He turned into the street in front of him and disappeared without a trace. 4 pieces of paper 1 foot long and 1 foot wide were the information this time. There were small words on them, which showed that there was a lot of content in them. Let's go in and have a look. I don't know why, but I feel happy when I see Japan is unlucky. Under the premise that the world is a family, I know I shouldn't think like this, but I really can't control myself. I know very well that my thoughts are wrong, but I still want to make mistakes again and again. Evil abyss, have you heartlessly buried me? Zhang Xiaobao said happily. Then he sneakily kissed Wang Wan on the lips. Wang Wan raised her hand and rubbed her face hard. She rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Except for the Tang Empire, you are happy when any country is unlucky. A typical racist." "No, I'm a nationalist. The Chinese people celebrate in the evening. Go to Fengzhou. There is a lot of bone marrow. Fry bone marrow for the little guys to eat. Wrap it in noodles and egg white, and roll it in oil. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside." Zhang Xiaobao staggered into the room. The two of them put their heads together and read slowly, word by word, as if they were tasting a poem. They wanted to see how the businessmen would spontaneously take advantage of others. The two of them had not yet made a ruthless move. They had only built luxury stores in every area of Japan, and wanted to take it slow. But the businessmen who pursued profits took the first move. After the Japanese compensation, it became a case of land division. From one square to another, they had to pass through the area leased by the Tang Empire. They had to be checked and show their identity cards. It was not too troublesome, but it made people feel sullen. It used to be their own land, but now they had to be checked by others. In the Tang Empire's leased areas, there were various civil and official institutions of the Tang Empire. Some collected information on land and water, some set up weather observation stations, and most of them were shops. Not all of the shops were owned by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao only arranged for a 2-story restaurant to be built at every corner of the leased territory. He did not expect to make money, but to monitor the Tang merchants. The concession belonged to the Great Tang Imperial Court. Merchants had to pay rent and pay taxes when they went there. The restaurant calculated the merchants' income and monitored whether the merchants went to the Japanese's territory to do business. Later on, he realized that he had worried too much. The merchants who were qualified to go to Japan were very proactive in paying taxes. They knew that the taxes they paid would be exchanged for various weapons from the Great Tang. When they were bullied or bullied outside, the Great Tang army would go over. In addition to the restaurant, he also went to the little one's precious candy house. Under Zhang Xiaobao's suggestion, he adopted the method of charging a low fee. However, all the packaging of the candy and children's entertainment facilities were in the Great Tang language. Every time there was a discount, he had to tell the children who came to play that it was a reward from the Emperor of the Great Tang. Such activities were held at least 3 times a month. The Japanese children were also allowed to exchange things. Otherwise, they would not be able to take out so much money from the Great Tang. Of course, the Japanese were not all fools. Some of them could see the impact of such methods on their own people. Unfortunately, all such people were excluded from the ruling class. The will of the leader was an important factor in determining the direction of a country, whether it was a dictatorship or a democracy. The Zhang family and the Wang family sent these. The other part belonged to the imperial court, which was the lottery and medical services. The purpose of the lottery was to make money in Japan, because the currency used to buy it was Japanese money. At the same time, the currency used to exchange it for the Japanese was also Japanese money. The money earned in the process had been kept, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to make the final move. Because the lottery belonged to the imperial court, Zhang Xiaobao controlled it. As for the medical services, many good doctors were sent to the Great Tang. They also brought a lot of drugs, including the newly developed drugs that the Great Tang people had not enjoyed. More interns also followed them. There was no need to say much about the purpose. In addition to using the Japanese to test the drugs in practice, there was only the great spirit of the International Red Cross. for this spirit, whether others believed it or not. Zhang Xiaobao firmly believed in it. Wang Wan, on the other hand, snorted at Zhang Xiaobao's self-boasting statement. All the shops in Japan became the business of the great Tang merchants. They transported things that were not available in Japan and sold them. They only collected money from the great Tang, and then used the great Tang money to buy the local raw materials in Japan. The matter seemed very clear and simple, but the exchange rate set by the Japanese ruling class was 1 to 2. It was not 1 to 2.8 that Xiaobei kindly reminded them of. The Japanese officials had a 40% advantage when it came to currency exchange. The tourists from the Great Tang gave Japan more than 50,000 strings of Tang money every month. The Japanese ruling class used this money to buy parts from the Great Tang, such as steam engines. They had already obtained the technology for the first generation of steam engines, but they could not produce the parts. But they, who did not understand the financial system, made their people suffer the pain of unreasonable currency exchange. Fengxiao Shoji, Takeshita Junichiro, and the others, who had lived in the Great Tang for many years, were all too clear about the monetary policy. But their advice was like a stone sinking into the sea. They could only cry and sigh. Every time they met, they would drink wine. They hoped that the punishment would last forever, but they were afraid that the punishment would last forever. It could be said that they were loyal to the Great Tang and looked at each other in jest. The tourists of the Great Tang were not in the mood to care about the sorrows of Japan. They came for a stroll, drank Japanese wine with their wives and daughters, and admired the great rivers and mountains of Japan. They also enjoyed the beautiful scenery of the Bodhi leaves, the blue sea, and the red clouds on the beach. The merchants of the Great Tang began to take action. The exchange rate of 1 to 2 was the official exchange rate of Japan, but the Japanese people could not maintain it. For example, the merchants of the Great Tang put up notices and asked people to explain that they wanted to buy sea fish or river fish. It did not matter even if they did not use the black market. The currency had a fixed position, but the price of fish was not fixed. It could be high or low. In order to be able to enter the Great Tang Medical Center for treatment when they were sick, to wear more beautiful clothes, to let their children play with better things, and to treat guests to the Great Tang restaurant, they needed more Great Tang currency. Then, when the merchants of the Great Tang were buying fish, they said that they wanted to buy fish that cost 10 strings of coins. They would settle every 300 copper coins, and they would buy the cheaper and better fish. In the end, the fishermen kept lowering the price, hoping to sell their fish and obtain the Great Tang's money to be used at the crucial time. It was the same as the situation of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan more than 100 years ago. However, at that time it was the government's action. Later, private enterprises also participated. A pair of pure leather shoes were sold for dozens of cents. They were exported in order to exchange for foreign exchange, and in the past, hundreds of yuan could not buy pure leather shoes. But at that time, the export enterprises were subsidized by the state, and the attack was on the non-export manufacturing industry and the people. Now the situation was not much different. The problem was that the population of Japan was small now, and on average, everyone suffered a great loss. After the clever Tang merchants made the first move, they immediately followed suit. Speaking of fish, according to the exchange rate, they should be able to buy twice as much with the same amount of money. However, after the price was lowered, the purchasing power could be 5 times or even more. According to the exchange rate, one would have to pay 80 copper coins to buy 100 caddies of fish. Now it was 16 copper coins. The fish bought for 16 copper coins was immediately processed on the spot with the secret recipe and seasoning of the Great Tang. It was 40 copper coins for 100 caddies of fish. The Japanese were allowed to use Japanese money to buy it, which was 80 copper coins. As such, a problem arose. Under the low profit and no profit marketing methods of the Great Tang merchants, when the Japanese people saw that the Great Tang's fish was only 40 copper coins for 100 caddies of fish, why would they buy the fish caught by their own people? The fish caught by their own people were 160 copper coins, which was 80 copper coins for the Great Tang. The Great Tang's fish was 50% cheaper, and it was processed. Therefore, when the fishermen found that their fish could not be sold, the Great Tang merchants continued to lower the price when they bought the fish. In the end, The merchants did not exchange the currency and directly bought and sold the fish. With the Great Tang's advanced technology and the vanity of the Japanese people, they easily broke the exchange rate set by the Japanese officials. When the angels smile and the sleigh pulled by the reindeer sprinkled the gifts of winter into the hot springs of Japan, the merchants of the Great Tang began to buy crazily. They spent a lot of money and bought countless goods. The fine leather clothes of the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office became the main consumables or luxury goods in Japan in winter. The Japanese people were proud to have a leather coat with the pattern of rice seedlings printed on it. Together with the cotton-padded clothes and skincare products in other areas, a lot of money was collected. The grass sprouted and the cherry blossoms under Mount Fuji were budding. The ruling class of Japan had to face the reality of the lack of materials in the country and began to implement shopping vouchers. At the same time, a new currency rule was formulated that the Great Tang people could not directly use the Great Tang money to buy Japanese things. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the last line of words, he looked up and said to Wang Wan beside him, "That's it. The merchants of our country are discussing countermeasures. The Japanese have become smarter." "Hey." Wang Wan squeezed out a sound from between her teeth and said, "Why are the merchants of our country so stupid? We will write back later and tell them that we agree with the new rules of the Japanese, but..." Zhang Xiaobao continued, "But the Japanese must allow the repurchase of official currency. We can first exchange the currency with their official currency according to their requirements, and then buy their goods. We can also use their money to exchange our own money back. Our goods will not be sold directly to their people. It must be their people who pay with our country's money. I guess the Japanese can also think of this without me saying it. Baby, sometimes I wonder if I'm being too much of a bully." From the emergence of the international currency exchange system to its relative perfection, it took a much longer time than the industrial development. There's a lot of information in it, so if we just take it out and force them to keep up with us, they'll stumble and almost fall with every step. It's an unfair win. Dear husband, you are crying for the mouse now. When the first firecracker explodes, the people who are still burning bamboo and listening to the sound are doomed to failure. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said, "The cat will not cry for the mouse for the time being. The cat will only cry when the last mouse in the world dies, because it has one less food. In this case, let's teach the merchants of our country and let them plunder in another way. I hope they can grow up quickly, so that I can eat the honey of our country's Turkey province and Yemen province. By the way, I will take you to our country's Rhine River to swim." Chapter 1169. Before his younger siblings came back from playing, Zhang Xiaobao had already started to write a telegram and sent it out. The telegram was not too long, but it was not short either. He did not intend to mention too many details, just a general idea. Zhang Xiaobao believed that the businessmen of Tang would know how to arrange the details after seeing the idea. There was no shortage of geniuses in the world. In terms of economics, the geniuses of Tubo and Japan were not bad. They were on the list of the richest people in Tang. The main problem was that they were too bad at politics. They knew many things but could not report to the country. There were many such things in the world. If you have the ability, I will not use you. If you write a good thesis, but don't put my name in front, I will not let you graduate. If you are a beauty, but put my name in front of your thesis and don't sleep with me, I will not let you graduate. Therefore, many things were not very complicated. It was just a problem of thinking. Zhang Xiaobao provided the ideas to the businessmen of Tang. Zhang Xiaobao could only apologize to the businessmen who did not have the ability. The number of them was too large. What if they leaked the news? The contents of the telegram. First, let the businessmen sign a currency treaty with Japan, but do not think about perfecting this treaty. Unless there was a loophole that was too big for them, they should just let it be and slowly perfect it in the future. Every perfection was a learning process for Japan. Learning naturally required paying tuition. Second, tell the businessmen that the name of the currency determined its position. Currency was naturally used to buy goods, but who said that it could not be used to buy goods? Therefore, after exchanging the money, they could rent land in Japan and invest in capital. They could only produce goods and not sell them to Japan. they could sell them back to Tang through a joint venture. Because it was a unilateral passive currency exchange, goods sold to Tang had to pay tariffs. At the same time, they had to meet the price set by Tang. Third, increase the price of the goods sold by Tang shops in the leased land, especially the medical centers. However, they could give a limited amount of welfare vouchers to the employees who rented land in Japan. Fourth, actively promote the immigration policy of Tang, targeting the relatively wealthy individuals and families in Japanese society. Fifth, borrow Japanese currency from Japanese people and exchange it with the Japanese government financial institutions for Tang currency, but repay it in Japanese currency. Sixth, it was not a matter for the businessmen, but for Tang to monitor the quality of imported goods from Japan. They had to raise the technical threshold. The purity and other elements of the old brass and silver had to be raised to a level so that they could set a new import price. Number 7. Hubby, don't go overboard. Can't you give him a chance to breathe? If I knew you were going to do this, why would I need you to write? I can write it. It's a waste of my husband's talent to write it. It's easy for a big country with advanced technology and military power to bully a small country. In the future, let this concubine deal with such matters. What do you think, hubby? People like you don't need to do anything. They just need to lie in bed. Wang Wan looked at what Zhang Xiaobao wrote with a brush and small regular script and felt a chill. If he continued to write, it was estimated that the economic and political system of Japan would collapse, which would cause a war in Japan. At that time, she would be eating too much food and would not have time to affect Japan. Therefore, she must not let Zhang Xiaobao continue to write. Hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao woke up. He shook his head and said, "First of all, I am not a male prostitute. I don't need to lie in bed to do everything. You have to agree with me. Besides, even a male prostitute can't always lie down, because the posture is different. Although I don't go to school, I know that the boys' physical education class is push-ups, pull-ups and triangle handstands. The girls' physical education class is sit-ups, horizontal bars and shoulder elbows. Why? It's because of the posture. How many girls learn squats and horizontal bars? That's to train erotic dancers. Secondly, I can't help but can't control my thoughts. You can't criticize me. You can only guide me. For example, when we are in bed, no matter who is on top. Rogue, a physical education class can make you feel dirty." Wang Wan gritted her teeth. Yes, physical education class is really rogue, and it discriminates against women. Why can't women do push-ups, and why can't men do shoulder elbows? Didn't we say that men and women are equal? Why can't women take the initiative and say that girls have practiced some kind of technique? Dirty too dirty. I don't want to talk about it. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. I will not allow the Tang Dynasty's physical education class to be taught like what I said before. Zhang Xiaobao didn't blush and agreed with her. Wang Wan helplessly patted her forehead with her hand and said, "Just do as you said before." She had to admit that some of the content in the physical education class in primary and secondary schools did mean this. The purpose was to lay the foundation for human reproduction. But when it was said so bluntly, she felt awkward. It belonged to the category of what could be done and could not be said. Regarding the physical education class in primary and secondary schools, Wang Wan also added after the first 6 points written by Zhang Xiaobao. She really didn't dare to let Zhang Xiaobao continue to write. It was too radical and needed to be eased. At least, she had to wait until she finished fighting Duosher and occupied a certain amount of land before she could take down Japan in one fell swoop. The first point added was to invite the Japanese ruling class to Tang Dynasty for exchanges and discussions. Everyone could promote each other and bring their families. Tang Dynasty would be responsible for reimbursing all the travel expenses. At the same time, there would be free coupons when entering the amusement park, and exquisite gifts would be prepared. The second point added was to provide a special interest-free loan of 1 million strings of Tang Dynasty money to hire Zhengzheng Construction Group to build infrastructure in Japan, such as roads and river embankments. The concrete technology would be used, and when it was returned, it would be Tang Dynasty's money. The third point added was to build a thermal power station for free in Japan. and it would be provided to the Japanese people at a preferential price. They could pay for electricity in Japanese currency for lighting and other purposes. The fourth point added was to strengthen the exchange of folk art groups. Soon, they would send an art group to Japan to perform. Japanese art groups were also welcome to come to Tang Dynasty to perform, and Tang Dynasty would provide food and accommodation. Well, let's send it out together. Wang Wan put down the pen and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Moi. Zhang Xiaobao hugged Wang Wan's head and kissed her hard on the face. He praised. My baby is so insidious. While numbing Japan, you have built the foundation for the march. With such a wife, what more can I ask for? Don't be so mushy. What more can you ask for? Can you represent all the husbands? I am sincerely thinking for the Japanese people. Look at me differently. Can't I be kind? Wang Wan sweetly rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and began to explain her motives. But in the end, she lost confidence. Zhang Xiaobao nodded fiercely. Yes, I have seen it. You are too kind and easy to be deceived. Zhang Xiaobao said exaggeratedly, but he was very satisfied in his heart. The 4 points added by Wang Wan seemed to be helping the Japanese, but in essence, that was not the case. He invited people to come over for a visit. One was to affect their working hours, and the other was to provide them with various ideas to learn from when they returned to Japan. But many things could not be learned just because they wanted to. Giving them interest-free loans and helping them to build roads was also to have a comfortable path for military intervention in the future. When the roads were built and they were repaid, although the money in Tang Dynasty would depreciate a little, the depreciation of money in Japan would be more severe. In theory, the Tang Dynasty's money would be in a state of appreciation in Japan. As for the thermal power station, it was purely an experiment using the place and resources of Japan. The final exchange was to lay the foundation of the people. When they wanted to send troops, they would first take back the loans and disrupt Japan's financial system. Then they would follow the road construction and cut off electricity to break the habits of the people who used electricity. At the same time, they would use the good foundation of the people to complete local governance. As Zhang Xiaobao thought about it, he suddenly said, if that's the case, then our party and government are indeed doing well. At least the people's living standards have improved. Although the quality of the food they eat and use is not very good, most of it is because the people are harming themselves. During the War of Resistance, our party's troops were still brave. Don't talk about our party. You are not a party member. Have you ever worn a red scarf? You only know how to sell 13 incense. During the anti-Japanese war, it was the Kuomintang who rushed to the front. The weapons were not good, and the soldiers sacrificed their lives. It was also the Kuomintang government that used diplomacy to get help from other countries. The Chinese people from other countries donated money and goods. Some even came in person. Many people from the US died. The Soviet Union helped the Communist Party later to gain benefits. Of course, they did it for their own benefits. But you can't deny that the Kuomintang did it. Later on, when they went to Taiwan, they said that our ships would not cross Taiping Island. But when we were fighting Vietnam, they did not attack Taiping Island, right? And they even helped us supply supplies. Other than the descendants of the Japanese, they still care about national interests. I don't want to talk to you anymore. You are too stupid to understand. Wang Wan refuted Zhang Xiaobao, but in the end, she did not know what to say. Zhang Xiaobao laughed and said, look, I am criticizing the Communist Party. You are criticizing me, and I am praising you. Don't think about that period. We have not experienced it. Who said that the general trend of the world is that men are on top of women, women are on top of men, women are on top of men, men are on top of women, women are on top of men, men are on top of women, women are on top of men, and men are on top of each other. That's how it is. But no matter if it is a man or a woman, they are still husband and wife. Even if it is a husband and wife, it is a husband and wife, or a wife, it is a husband and wife, or a brother who has nothing to do with the foreign movie Brokeback Mountain. We are always on the outside. As for the descendants of the Japanese, I want to say lei feng to them. If I had lived for another 20 years, I would not have been able to kill them. Now we will live our own lives. I did not send troops to play with sulfur balls. Now it is only you who bullied others and they retaliated, so I did not bully them. After all, there are former immigrants. We should give them some benefits. After some time, things will get better. Didn't you also send ships to protect the fishermen there? In the future, as trade and communication increase, we will occupy the place without sending troops. After we finish playing with Tashitu, we will advertise and bring more people there for a trip. With more interaction, things will get better. As for the bad clothes and mental appearance of the locals, it is understandable. Quality is not developed in a day. Quality is also determined by people. How can you bully others? You can purify opium and mix it with starch and sell it. The price is not low. Wang Wan habitually refuted Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 deep breaths. That is a painkiller, okay? According to what you said, it is like a drug. Did I let them take one at a time? Anyway, you are taking advantage of them. According to what you said, I am taking advantage of you. Aren't you willing to? You hooligan. Tonight, you go count the moon. I will sleep with Xiaobei and the rest. I will drag Xiaoyuan and the rest to count the stars. If you have the guts, you can drag them to count the stars every day. I am the one who is at a disadvantage, okay? You are the one who is at a disadvantage. I only took advantage of you with my words. Why don't I sing you a song? Disgusting. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were discussing who was at a disadvantage, Xiaobei and the rest had already arrived at the armory. When they saw the armory, the little guys were shocked. The armory in front of them was different from the ones they had seen in other places. The so-called armory is a warehouse, which is piled with military supplies, including equipment and cotton-padded clothes, canned food and so on. The warehouse that the Jiu Yuan now sees is not a general warehouse. It is actually half a building. It is said to be a building. It is not directly touching the ground below. It is densely supported with logs. It is very similar to the Jiao Jiao building, but there are no such high support pillars, and it is not supported on 3 sides. It is supported on all sides. What do you mean? Xiao Zhu likes to study this. He doesn't understand. He turns to ask the local children. Come on, come on. The little boy who said that he was going to fight ran over with a child who was half a head taller than him. He took a few breaths and said, he is Yang Danzi. He is always beaten by me. Who was beaten by me and didn't know? Yang Danzi obviously had a bad temper. That time I hit your nose. You cried when I hit your nose. This year, last winter, you even stole our roasted potatoes to eat. I saw you, but I didn't say anything. The little boy who pulled him over had a look of you owe me on his face. Yang Danzi turned his head and said, you told my sister that you couldn't finish eating and asked us to get it, okay? I just won't tell you where my sister is today. If you don't tell me, I'll find her myself. That yellow dog of yours must be by her side. Once I whistle, the dog will hear it. Even the dog knows me. The little boy said unwillingly, but he gave a feeling that he was strong in appearance but weak in heart. Xiao Bei and others realized. Xiao Yuan. It's not easy to be a boy who likes girls. You have to send things when you are beaten and angry. Really you are sad, but you want the beauty to laugh. How can you go out and chat with her? A ride together, shy and delicate. Don't ask the end of the world, ask the corner of the sea. What a mess, you used the wrong rhyme. Are you bullying me because my language is not good? Your family writes poems to beat the rhyme and multiply the rhyme? It's better to change it to grass. Xiao Bei arched Xiao Yuan with his body. Yes, Xiao Bei is powerful. It's grass. How can we follow each other to step on the green grass? It's a good word. If we use the word chat, we will make a sound. It should be that the two are in love with each other without words. When we make a sound, we will break the mood. It's really good. Those who know me, Xiao Bei. At this moment, Xiao Yuan showed his talent. His literary level was so high, there was no other way. Go and ask. Xiao Hai was unwilling and ordered Xiao Yuan to go. Ask clearly. Don't put all your thoughts on my sister. Of course your poem is not bad. It's as beautiful as your sister's painting. Xiao Hai praised again because Xiao Yuan's sister, Xiao Zhu, blinked her eyes and came over. With confidence, Xiao Yuan puffed out his chest and raised his head. He walked over to Yang Danzi. When he was about to say something, the sound of horse hooves came from the east. He turned his head and saw a man and a horse galloping over. His speed was like the wind, and his momentum was like a rainbow. When he was 100 steps away, he slowed down. The man sat on the horse with a smile on his face. He raised his voice and said, "I am Gong Shuha here." With a bang, the horse fell and the man rolled to the ground. Before he could do anything, a few people jumped out and pointed their guns at his head. "If you move, we will kill you." Chapter 1170. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. The person who called himself Gong Shuha, who was pressed to the ground and held at gunpoint, quickly explained. The people holding him down didn't listen to his explanation. 2 of them searched him, and 1 of them put handcuffs on him. After a while, the people searching him found a weapon on him. It was a dagger that was 1 foot long and 1.5 inches wide. The dagger had a sharp edge on one side and a sawtooth on the other. The handle was wrapped with strips of leather in the shape of fish scales. When he saw the dagger, Gong Shuha broke out in a cold sweat. He continued to explain. "It's a military dagger. It can be used to cut meat and eat it. The sawtooth at the back can be used to open cans of food. There's a little opening on the handle, and the handle can be opened with a needle and thread." "Shut up." Without waiting for Gong Shuha to finish explaining the functions of the dagger, he pressed the other person down. He didn't need to tell him how to use a military dagger. The problem wasn't the military dagger, but why was he allowed to have a military dagger? The non-combat department didn't provide him with a military dagger. As a soldier, he was responsible for logistics. The other reason was that he was a 9th-rank official. Why did he carry a dagger when he rushed over on horseback? If he didn't get off his horse when he was 100 paces away, a strong archer would be able to kill his enemy from 100 paces away. "Listen to me. I don't have any ill intentions. I just happened to pass by and saw a group of people surrounding the armory. I was afraid that I might lose something, so." Gong Shuha was dragged to Xiaobei and the others. He didn't stop talking. "Are you tired? Do you know who I am?" Xiaobei put his hands behind his back and looked at the person who was kneeling in front of him, but didn't forget to speak. You. Are you looking for a beating? Are you bullying me because I'm uncultured? You guys, the word you invented? Who are we?" "Uia, how is this possible? Could it be that if this official's guess is correct, may I be so bold as to say that you are?" I am too excited. "You are the great Tang's patrol envoy. This official, this lowly official. I truly don't know how to describe the joy in my heart. Smoke is rising from my ancestral grave." Gong Shuha's eyes widened, and his body trembled. He forced a smile that was full of wrinkles. 8 of his yellow teeth were exposed. However, after a few seconds, he was disappointed. Xiaobei and the others were not moved at all. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. Of course, only Gong Shuha could feel it. The others were not guilty, so they were not afraid. Xiaobei still had his hands behind his back as he paced back and forth in front of Gong Shuha. After walking for 3 minutes, he stopped and asked Gong Shuha, "Xiaobei, do you know which 2 types of people I hate the most?" Gong Shuha shook his head nervously. He was really scared now. The situation was different from what he had imagined before he came. When he came, he was thinking about riding a horse. When the little ones saw him on the horse, they yearned for him to lead them to chase the clouds in the sky on the grassland. Then he would sing at the top of his voice, singing the solemnity and desolation that belonged to the grassland, singing the ambition of the goshawk that had been passed down since ancient times, singing the happiness and serenity of the flock of sheep after the strong wind. From then on, he was no longer a soldier in charge of logistics. It was not a problem for him to become a 7th-grade officer. But why was the ending different from what he had described in his heart? Was it because Huang Sha didn't understand Xiao Cao's heart? Or was it because the west wind couldn't blow out Xian Tianyo's feelings? If the arrival of spring was unable to cover up the traces of winter, then who was the one who made the branches bloom green? If a belly full of talent had to go east like the Yellow River, then was this fate or the will of the heavens? Perhaps. What are you doing? I'm asking you a question. Will you die if you answer? You're making your eyes full of melancholy. While Gong Shuha was thinking about what to say, Xiao Bei spoke again. I don't know. Gong Shuha could not think about it anymore. He had to get through the difficult situation in front of him first. Then I'll tell you. The first type of people I hate are those who don't know anything. Tell me again. What is the second type that I hate? Xiao Bei asked again. Gong Shuha did not dare say that he did not know. Xiao Bei was annoyed. He quickly said, It's people who don't know anything. Wrong. They're pretending not to know. You said you were passing by, so I sent someone to the place you came from to ask around. I want to see if I can find out that you asked someone about our whereabouts before you came here. Guess what the result is? Xiao Bei stared into Gong Shuha's eyes. He had a questioning look on his face. I know I was wrong. I didn't ask about your whereabouts because I wanted to harm you. I wanted to learn the meaning of sunflowers facing the sun. Listen to the drum and move with the flag. Gong Shuha expressed his position. He was also ambitious. As the saying went, an official who did not want to be a villain was not a good gentleman. Xiao Bei grunted. He put his hands behind his back and walked towards Yang Danzi. Gong Shuha, who was still nervous, was released, and the dagger was confiscated. As for how it had come about, there was no need to ask. It was very normal and abnormal for a logistics manager to secretly take out a dagger and use it. Xiao Yuan pulled Yang Danzi over. Tell us about your father. Where is he now? Compared to Gong Shuha's nervousness, Yang Danzi was much calmer. It was mainly because Xiao Bei and the others had done a good job of spreading the news. They only caught corrupt officials and bad people. If they did not do anything wrong, they were not afraid of ghosts knocking on their door. I don't know where my father is. Let's look for him. We'll find him. What do you want me to talk about? Yang Danzi's eyes looked back and forth between Xiao Bei and the others. He had a curious and happy expression on his face. The little boy beside him, who had taken a liking to his sister, pointed out, just tell us how much your father has contributed and how many times he has suppressed him. As he spoke, he pointed at Gong Shuha. How dare you speak nonsense? Gong Shuha glared. You're scaring me. The little boy glared back. Even I am scared, Xiao Yuan said. Gong Shuha's face turned white. He lowered his head and explained, he's slandering me. Can't I tell if he's slandering you? Do I need your advice? Xiao Bei did not even look at Gong Shuha. I know I'm wrong. Gong Shuha did not dare to speak again. The little boy did not intend to let him off easily. He said to Xiao Bei, Look, Xiao Bei. He even dares to threaten me in front of you, and wants to seal my mouth. If you weren't here, he would have killed me. I guess I won't be able to grow up. Look, he still dares to glare at me. I'm the flower of the Tang Empire. Not only did he not give me sunshine, he even wants to leave a shadow in my heart. Gong Shuha closed his eyes and lowered his head. He was very depressed. He knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless. Xiao Bei did not continue to target Gong Shuha. Even if he had 100 more guts, he would not dare to take revenge. Xiao Bei's gaze landed on the storeroom in front of him. He asked Yang Danzi, Is there a benefit to setting up the house? Yes. My father is afraid that the water on the ground will dampen the things inside. Also, Yang Danzi furrowed his eyebrows and tried to organize his words. Gong Shuha took the opportunity to say, Why do you need to set it up? Because the spring is warm and the snow is melting, the earth is warm. So we need to set it up to prevent dampness. There are also wall cards inside. If there is a fire, they can be unplugged. Riddle? Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan could only look at Yang Danzi. Yang Danzi explained. The things inside are also placed on the shelves. They are not piled up on the ground. There are bolts in the walls of the storeroom. If you pull them out, the entire wall will collapse. When there is a fire, it is convenient to put out the fire. If you need to quickly grab a weapon, you can also dismantle the wall. Not bad, not bad. Xiao Bei praised him. He walked around the house, intending to go in and take a look. The lock on the door blocked everyone. The key. It was time for Xiao Yuan to show off. I don't have it. His father won't give it to me. Gong Shuha knew how to complain. He pointed at Yang Danzi. What do you do if there is an emergency? Xiao Bei asked. Other people have it, but he doesn't. He stole. My father said that it is their business to give him the key to the armory that other people are in charge of. My father will not let him steal from the armory that my father is in charge of. Gong Shuha didn't say anything at first, but Xiao Bei looked at him. He could only answer. I did it to test the weapon. No matter how bold I am, I wouldn't dare to sell the weapon. That is a crime that will result in the destruction of my family. Keep walking. The design of the storeroom is quite good. Xiao Bei turned around and continued walking inside. Gong Shuha quickly followed. He didn't forget to show off. Thank you for the compliment. It is what I should do. I am a local official, and I am loyal to the country. I have no distractions. It was his father who designed it. The little boy retorted unhappily. It was Yang Danzi's father who designed it. His father, Yang Fun, is very skillful. I only had to tell his father the idea, and he knew what I meant. If I had done it myself, the effect would have been slightly worse. This is called using justice for personal gain. It is a combination of mental and physical labor. Gong Shuha smiled. From his words, one could see that he was selfless and knew how to use people. The little boy thought for a while before he figured out what Gong Shuha meant. He was so angry that tears almost came out. He ran a few steps to catch up with the group. He pouted and muttered, "You are so shameless." Everyone continued walking and looked around. The logistics department's planning was quite good. The houses were neatly arranged, and the corridors were wide. Compared to the road outside, the snow had melted, and the logistics department wasn't muddy. The ground was covered with sand. It was soft to step on, but it wouldn't get wet. The outside is not as good as the barracks. When we came in, I stepped on mud. Since the barracks have sand, why didn't they arrange for the logistics officers to do the same when they knew we were coming? Just treat it as a test of the combat ability of the engineers. Xiao Bei thought back to the experience of stepping on mud. The more he walked, the more uncomfortable he felt. He huffed. Xiao Hai and the others nodded in agreement. They didn't think there was anything wrong with using public resources for personal gain. It could be treated as a drill. How could the logistics department not be able to pave a road? What kind of logistics engineers were they? What did the logistics camp in Izhou do? They didn't expect the current logistics to rush to the front and take over, but they had to do what they had to do. Looking at the little guys complaining, Captain Zhang Hu laughed and said, "You only think about the ability of the local engineers. Why don't you think about whether the people who come here should adapt first? It's not that the local people are unprepared. Xiao Bei, you really want to see the logistics ability of the Jiu Yuan. Arrange a drill tomorrow afternoon, okay? Don't use the power of our family. Oh, it's my brother who won't let us. We can let them go tomorrow afternoon. Oh, we can't reveal the secret ahead of time. Watch him. Thank you, Brother Huzi." Xiao Bei was excited and pointed to Gong Shuha. The other children were also very happy, especially the local children. There was an activity tomorrow, and it was lively with more people. The talkative little boy followed and said, "We will go with you. We won't reveal the secret. We will go to the restaurant with you. You will treat us to good food." "Okay, we have nothing else to do. We will treat you to food." Xiao Bei promised very happily. Gong Shuha was also happy. He pretended to be reserved and said, "This official is not very hungry. I can't eat too much. I can only talk as a foil. I hope you don't mind. At least this official's mind." "Who said we will eat with you? Tonight, my brother will make us something to eat. Do you expect me to treat you? Your meal is cooked in the restaurant. You can choose 6 of the 32 dishes. 2 meat dishes, 2 vegetarian dishes, 2 cold dishes, and 1 soup. There is no limit to the staple food. After the meal, there is a fruit plate or tea." Xiao Bei didn't give him any face. Gong Shuha was choked. Although the meal in the restaurant was good, it was not as good as eating with the little guys. He hesitated and finally couldn't help but ask softly, "Why?" "Because you are an official." Xiao Hai continued, "He's just a 9th rank official. There are rules in the officialdom. We can eat with any ordinary person, but we can't easily eat with an official. This is to prevent you from spreading the word that you have a close relationship with the patrol inspector." "That's right. Big brother is right. We'd rather cry with the people than smile at you. If there's a need, big sister will smile at you. Do you want to try? Xiao Bei echoed. Gong Shuha shook his head vigorously. No need. This meal is very good. I am content. He knew that it was better to provoke the wrath of the king of hell than to see the smile of a demon. When the king of hell met the Zhang family and the Wang family, he seemed to become worthless. Just like the proverb praising De medical school, the Taoist king of hell died at the third watch, and when I say the fifth watch, it means the fifth watch. Are you really satisfied? The little boy didn't forget to add insult to injury. It showed how popular Gong Shu he was. Gong Shuha held back his anger towards the little boy and replied with a smile. It's true, it's true. When you're full, you shouldn't complain. When you're hungry, you should reminisce about it. If the dish is not popular, the heavens will not punish everyone. What do you mean? Are you bullying me because I don't understand? Little brother Xiao Yuan, tell me. The little boy didn't understand, so he turned his head to ask Xiao Yuan. He said that when you're full, you shouldn't think that ordinary food isn't delicious. You should think about how you used to be so hungry. There were already 2 ways to cook and stir-fry dishes, but you still had to be picky about the 2 ways to cook and stir-fry dishes. If the heavens don't punish you, you'll be fine. In fact, our restaurant has both stir-frying, and deep-frying dishes, not to mention the 2 ways of cooking and stir-frying. We have raw things and barbecued things such as raw mutton, raw beef and raw fish. Xiao Yuan frowned and explained to the little boy and the other local children. He was a bit disgusted with Gong Shuha. He had nothing better to do, so he always talked about things like rhymes and nursery rhymes. What was there to show off about? Oh. The little boy nodded. I've never eaten raw beef before. Cows are all used to plow the land. Raw mutton isn't tasty. I can eat raw horse meat, but after eating it, my stomach hurts. A few days ago, I went to your precious candy house to eat candy shaped like that. Then a lot of bugs came out. I won't eat raw horse meat anymore. Yes, you can't eat it casually. It's easy to get sick. Tonight, I'll have Big Brother make sashimi for you. Our family specially raised fish. There are a few ways to dip it in and eat it without adding anything. Try it. It's just that. Xiao Yuan sighed. However, the local children were very willing to listen to what Xiao Bei and the others said. They felt that they knew a lot. Even the words that came out of their mouths were knowledge. As they continued to walk, Xiao Bei, who was running in front, suddenly exclaimed. He then asked, "What's going on?" In front of them, someone was paving a path with sand. Paving a path was normal behavior. What was abnormal was that the sack was not only filled with sand, but the person paving the path was also picking out ginger. After picking the ginger out, the sand was laid down. As the commentator, Sheep Egg came close and said, "The ginger will shrivel after a long time. It can't always be dry ginger. My father said that we should bury the ginger in the sandbag and take it out when we eat it. This saves a portion of the money that is specially used to buy ginger outside. It's not just ginger. There are also onions and garlic. They are all planted in the sand. It's fine as long as they keep warm. In winter, we can eat garlic sprouts every 3 to 5 days. The money we save can be used to buy other things. In a few days, we will plant vegetables in the field training ground. Those that are trampled on during training will be thrown away. Those that are not trampled on can be kept for eating. The shooting range will also plant sorghum. By hiding the targets in the sorghum field, it can also train the soldiers' observation skills. As long as it's under the control of the military camp, we will plant things. Rice and wheat are all planted. During training, the soldiers will do all kinds of tactical movements. In the rice planting area, even if the weather is cold, you have to lie down and endure the smell of wet and manure. The branches and leaves of the wheat will at least leave a red mark on your body. However, during the training at night, when the sound of the charge is suddenly blown, you won't have time to put on the combat uniform and hold a gun. You can only wear pants and find something that can be used as a weapon. Then, you will crawl into the wheat field and gather with the nearby people at a fixed time to form a defensive position. After the introduction, Sheep Egg proudly added, "My father came up with this idea." Oh. Xiao Bei nodded in surprise and asked, What do we do when the rice and wheat sprouts are crushed? Lift them up. If we can't lift them up, give them up or replant them. Let the reconnaissance team lift them up. When they lift them up, they can understand the traces left behind after being crushed. They are familiar with tracking and hiding. My second uncle is in the reconnaissance team, the little boy said proudly. Xiao Bei stuck out his tongue and turned to look at Zhang Hu. He meant that his training method was really good. Zhang Hu, on the other hand, smiled slightly and said to the little ones, "Our family's training for the seedling protection team is even harsher." After that, he shouted, "Number 5, number 6, step out and hide behind the sandbags in front." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 people rushed out of the team. Both of them pulled out the tactical military knife on their legs at the same time and cut open 12 sandbags in a few moves. One of them took off his clothes and threw his pants to the other person. The other person used his fastest speed to make the pants into a tube shape and placed it on the sand pile. He lifted his shirt and lay down beside the sand pile. The person who took off his clothes used his hands to lift up the sand and buried him. He then opened the sandbags and lay down, covering his body with the sandbags. The 2 people's actions were completed within a minute. Xiao Bei and the others were stunned. This is sacrificing one person to cover the other person. The person who sacrificed is the person who went under the sandbags. He gave the illusion that he went into the sand pile and breathed through the passage formed by his trousers. When the enemy thinks that there is no one in the sand pile, they will naturally look through the sandbags and see him. He may pull the trigger of a grenade or rush to the enemy's knife. But the person who is really hiding is the one who uses his clothes to create a little breathing space. Our family's training requires that even if we are underwater and are bleeding from all 7 orifices, we are not allowed to float up. In the land of ice and snow, even if our whole body is frozen, we still have to keep a finger that can move and a trace of consciousness before our lives fade away. Zhang Hu said in a flat tone. Really? Gong Shuha asked in disbelief. Zhang Hu didn't say anything. He just quickly took off his clothes, leaving only his underwear. He closed his hands and spat a few mouthfuls of saliva on his face. He then grabbed a handful of wet sand and rubbed it against his face, revealing a concave mark on his left cheek. It was obvious that something had pierced through the left side of his face to form a scar. Looking at his body, there were countless crisscrossing scars. It could be seen that some of the new scars had scratched on top of the old scars. The others also took off their clothes. One of the people who had been wearing sunglasses took off his mirror, revealing a hole in his right eye. None of them were unharmed. Big brother Huzi, you guys. No wonder big brother and big sister told us to respect you guys. You guys also never called us young ladies or young masters like other people. You guys treat us like children and elders. You guys have the qualifications. Xiao Bei wiped away his tears and said. Zhang Hu grinned. You guys are children to begin with. We don't need to respect you. We only need to protect you. The wounds on our bodies are nothing. We got injured during training, and we also got new wounds when we were in Luzhou. After that, we entered Tubo. After we were done with Tubo, we went back to secretly fight with Duoshi in the snowy mountains, grasslands, jungles and swamps. Fortunately, we all survived. However, many members of the team we led stayed there. Those who looked down on the enemy and nature used their lives to interpret danger. The scars on our bodies are our glory. Don't think that we're the most powerful. That's because we haven't met a united enemy like young Master Xiao Bao and young Lady Cuckoo, especially young Master Xiao Bao. If we were facing him, even if we dared to charge forward, we wouldn't be confident. We didn't know before, but the more experience we have, the deeper our fear of young Master Xiao Bao becomes. That's why we weren't worried when young Master and young Lady took you guys out to play. The little ones were dumbfounded. The others were also confused. It was only when the person lying in the sand couldn't hold his breath and stood up that everyone woke up a little. My brother is that awesome? Xiao Bei asked in shock. Generally awesome, Zhang Hu said with certainty. Chapter 1171. Little Bei and the other children were still in a daze when they heard Zhang Hu's praise for their brother. But I've only seen my brother fight once. It was when he climbed the mountain during the sword meet on Mount Hua. It gave me a very relaxed feeling. It was as if I could fly if I touched something with one hand or one foot. Are you afraid of fighting enemies like my brother on the cliff? Little Bei recalled for a moment. There was a vague shadow of mountain climbing in his mind. Zhang Hu shook his head. It's all weather and all terrain. Our tactics and commanding skills were taught by the little lady. Our fighting and wilderness survival skills were taught by the little young master. Later on, I saw the little young master learning military command, physics, chemistry, and so on from the little lady. The little lady learned economic swindling from the little young master. Oh, it's defense and close combat. At that time, we were still farmers. Most of the others were villagers. We were not as good as you guys. From then on, we started to admire them. Later on, we became a little arrogant. In the end, when Lu Zhou fought in the forest, we realized the gap between us again. After that, we entered a period of peace. After the war in Tubo, we felt that we had experienced too much and became arrogant again. Then, we were sent out to command small groups. Every time we were in a dangerous situation, the moment we commanded the small groups, we couldn't help but think of the tactics the little lady taught us. No matter what we faced, we would never admit defeat. We would always give our men an invincible belief. Therefore, we understood the pressure the little lady had to bear when we first entered Tubo. Everyone is afraid of death. Everyone is afraid of failure. However, the little lady gave us the feeling that she was a god, right? Zhang Hu asked the person who had just stood up from the sand. The person nodded solemnly. Yes. When the little lady commanded the battle, she never sighed. Even after a battle, she still had the mood to tell us about the situation on the battlefield. That feeling was wonderful. It made me feel that if I listened to the little lady and followed her, I didn't need to think about anything else. Later on, when I commanded a small group, I understood that it wasn't that I wasn't afraid, but that I couldn't show it. It wasn't that I was indifferent when I saw my men die, but I had to be ruthless. If I wavered even a little, the entire group would collapse. Do you still remember that saying? What saying? Put on your clothes first. It's so cold. I feel pain when I see the scars on your body. Little Bei grimaced. He rubbed his hands on his body as if he wanted to rub off the scars. This lowly official knows. This lowly official knows. It's the boundless ocean. The waves rise and fall. Cuckoo's gunships broke through the waves, forming a majestic formation. The grassland is tender in spring and the snow falls in winter. The goshawk soars and balloons cover the sky and compete with the clouds. The years of the vast desert are hard to cut. Returning home for the first time, killing the enemy and seizing their banners, he smiled and said, Devil Dao. Who's in the Ming Dynasty and who's in the yesterday? Military songs resound in the green hills. Once the order is given, blood will be spilled when the soldiers are deployed. This is a kind of momentum, but also a kind of helplessness and choice. Gong Shuha interrupted. His hands were already trembling so much that he had to grab the sides of his pants. When he spoke, his voice was also trembling. Looking at the scars on Zhang Hu and the others and the indifference in their words, he really didn't know who to tell the shock and fear in his heart. This was the legendary Team Zero protecting the seedlings. As expected, there was no empty seat under the famous name. How could they play with people like this? He rode a horse here, and almost died in their hands. Not to mention that they were the earliest battle team of the Zhang family and Wang family. Even if they were killed by ordinary soldiers, the case could be brought to the emperor. Once they took off their clothes, the scars on their body would be exposed, and he would have died in vain. There would be no one in the court who would speak up for him. If he were someone from the Ministry of Justice, Marble, or the Censorate, he would also side with the people who had outstanding military achievements. They were people who fought with their lives and fought for the stability of the Tang Empire with their lives. Would they need evidence or explanation to kill a rank 9 logistics officer, who might have a problem? The eyes of the other local children lit up, and they were full of worship. The Team Zero protecting the seedlings really lived up to its name. Strong, extraordinarily strong. If they were in a county, they would probably be completely annihilated if 1,000 enemies came to surround them. It was said that soldiers who had killed before had cold eyes. Now, It was clear that that was not the highest level. A truly ruthless person would kill many enemies, and then have a calm gaze. If Xiaobei and the others didn't always study and receive training, it would be better. At least when they were protected, they wouldn't be too much of a burden. With this thought, the children consciously stood around Xiaobei and the others, meaning that if they didn't train, they could at least help them block the danger. Let's not talk about other things. Today, I saw the sand paving the road, I saw the things growing on the sand, and I heard that in other aspects of the field, the two functions of training and food are all good. Xiaobei whispered a few words to his brothers and sisters and praised the logistics department in a timely manner. As soon as he finished speaking, Gong Shuha, who was smiling like a flower, said shyly, "It should be. This yellow sand is not the land of the poor, but it can also be praised for nurturing soldiers. Don't say that every grain buries life and death, just look at the garlic sprouts." I just had a flash of inspiration and received the approval of everyone in the team, so I made some achievements. It's not worth mentioning at all. All the children looked at him with disdain. It was obviously the idea of the sheep's egg's father, but in the end, it was taken over by Gong Shuha. Xiaobei and the others didn't say much about this matter. They seemed to agree with Gong Shuha's words. The group continued to stroll forward. The thick smell of meat drifted over with the wind. Fortunately, they had just eaten, so it wasn't very appetizing. Xiao Yuan sniffed and said, "Oh my bones. The life in the logistics department is pretty good." It should be. Soldiers are spirited in training, and they are serious in peacetime. Sweat more and bleed less. Drinking bone soup can strengthen the body. Gong Shuha compensated and cooperated. The little boy couldn't help but jump out again. It was the sheep's egg's father who thought of the idea. The logistics department raised pigs, fish, and poultry themselves. They scattered barley seeds on the bad ground nearby and fed them with barley. It was a set of breeding. Your family started it first. After the feathers of the poultry were made, they could be put into cloth to keep them warm. After the pig skin was tanned, they took the initiative to sell it to the people nearby. They asked the people what kind of leather items they wanted. When they returned, the logistics craftsman would make it according to the requirements and sell it to the people, or exchange it for other things. The craftsmen could earn more money to support their families, and they wouldn't let their hands get rusty. Look at the food we eat. It's a benefit. Then the soldiers in training can have more oil. Today's cooked bone is the reward for the team with the best results in training every half a month. The other teams can only watch. Usually they don't lack food, but if you eat more good food, you'll feel incompetent and blushed when you see others eating, right? When the sheep heard others praise his father, his face turned red. He explained embarrassedly, "My father said that he can't go to the battlefield to fight, so he has to do more for those who can risk their lives. When a person is alive, he can't say that he's better than everyone else, but at least he can't be worse than others in the field he manages." Xiaobei and the other 9 people were really satisfied. They smiled and nodded. They even said that they would steal 2 bones to eat later, and crack some bone marrow to relieve their cravings. When they came to the kitchen, a group of people wearing white chef's clothes were holding spades and stirring in a big pot. From time to time, someone would use a spoon to scoop a spoonful of oil from the pot and pour it into a jar beside the pot. It seemed that they were frying the oil. The fat on the pig's body didn't smell very good because there were places next to the intestines and other places in the water. There was a faint stench, but the sizzling smell mixed in it was very fragrant. The young man was not afraid of being splashed by the oil. He went to a pot that had almost finished boiling the oil and was only sizzling with oil. He stood on tiptoe and looked inside. He was glared at by the chef who was working. He obediently took a few steps back and said, "Put some salt in the oil. It won't spoil easily." Seeing that he had retreated far away, the chef's expression softened. He nodded and said, "Put it. Now save the fat. We'll eat vegetable oil in summer and eat fat when the weather is cold. It can resist the cold. Speak properly. This is the patrol inspector." Gong Shuha continued to act, but the chef glared at him again. He didn't give him any face and said, "This is my territory. I speak." Gong Shuha snorted and turned to the young man. Don't mind him. His name is Song Liang. He has a bad temper. Most people don't give him face. He's used to it. His second brother is the leader of the 3rd Battalion. The young man rolled his eyes at Gong Shuha and laughed coldly. He turned around and returned to the group. The older sister, big man, said to Gong Shuha, "You have such a good mind. You should go to the front lines and scheme against the enemy. The Battle of Red Cliff didn't need Gong Jin. You could have made Cao Cao kill Kai Mao and Zhang Yun." Gong Shuha shivered and broke out in a cold sweat. The local kids were stunned and puzzled, but the chef laughed loudly. Obviously, he had some knowledge. He stopped what he was doing and said to Xiao Bei and the others, "Do you want to eat oil? Pick a few pieces of the brown ones." Xiao Bei swallowed hard. He felt that the oil was too big. He looked at the other kids and nodded. "Okay, eat them as snacks." When the young boy heard that there was good food, he was very happy. However, he did not understand what was going on. He looked at Xiao Yuan, who was explaining things to the others. Xiao Yuan smiled and said in a small voice, "Gong Shuha wants to play the game of sowing discord. He wants to kill with a borrowed knife. He thinks too highly of himself. We are very angry. After today, we will deal with him." The young boy still did not understand, but he was relieved. Xiao Yuan's last sentence was effective. It was good that they could deal with Gong Shuha. The oil sizzled in a chipped bowl and was carried by the local children. As they walked, they ate. The oil in the bowl was not depleted, and when they bit into it, it kept coming out. The local children ate very happily, sucking their fingers from time to time. Xiao Bei and the others, on the other hand, were sick of the taste. Xiao Bei and the others pinched their noses and went over to take a look. They found that the pigsty was relatively clean. When they opened their noses, the smell was not strong. There was a groove that was used to wash the feces out. It seemed that there was either a pond or a biogas cellar underneath. It was a very good arrangement. Although the bacteria in the pig feces were eaten by fish and could easily be transmitted to humans, as long as they did not eat sashimi and cooked it, there was no problem. Suddenly, Xiao Bei thought of something important. He asked nervously, "There are fish in the pond and ducks and geese. They won't eat the fish, right?" "No, they won't." Gong Shuha waved his hand and explained with a smile, "Back then I thought about this matter, so I came up with an idea. How could we let the two coexist?" After many inspirations, someone finally understood my intentions. Under my hints, they told me the method of using nets to separate the breeding. My several inspirations finally paid off, and my efforts were not in vain. It's difficult. Sometimes it's more difficult to cultivate subordinates than to achieve results. Chapter 1172. Gong Shubing really does have good literary talent and a good train of thought. Xiao Bei looked around and praised him. It's not worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning. Mobilizing the enthusiasm of your subordinates is something an official in a small position should do. If you do it seriously, you'll succeed. If you don't take a single step, you'll go through 1,000 mountains and 10,000 rivers. Gong Shuha looked up at the sky. After he finished speaking, he pursed his lips tightly. His brows furrowed slightly, and his gaze was deep. Unfortunately, Xiao Bei and the others were too short, and they were too close. They couldn't see his expression when he looked up. Xiao Bei tried to look up, but he didn't see anything. He asked, "What's the next step?" Taking a single step, 10,000 rivers and 1,000 mountains. The clouds are on the horizon, and the heart is here. But taking a single step is better than not taking a single step. Although the mountains and rivers are far away, there is no wish, no regret, and no words. Gong Shuha continued to express his feelings. Even the local children were moved. 2 of them had tears in their eyes. He was too great. He was too noble. Gong Shuha thought the same. He turned his head and deeply understood a saying. The higher the expectations, the greater the disappointment. The people in the seedling protection team had experienced countless life and death situations. They didn't have any expression on their faces. The patrol envoys had a different look in their eyes. How could he describe it? They were like people watching a play. "Follow me. There's also something good." Gong Shuha felt a little guilty. Facing the patrol envoys, he felt like he was being seen through. It was strange. Did they not have any sympathy? Had he not said enough? Why were they all like blocks of wood? Suppressing his uneasy thoughts, Gong Shuha took the lead and walked in front. He decided to let Xiao Bei and the others see something that could shock them. The children didn't say much and continued to follow. The little boy was a little shaken. He leaned close to Xiao Bei and quietly said, "I think Gong Shuha is not bad." "Not bad, my ass. You want to fool people with just a few words? Xiao Yuan, tell this little brother what it means to be emotional." Xiao Bei replied with disdain. Little Yuan immediately responded. He nudged the little boy and said, "Don't listen to Xiao Bei. To be honest, this Gong Shu he really can't be picked on. Don't you think so?" The little boy nodded hesitantly, and Xiao Yuan said, "When we came here, we didn't think about it thoroughly. Who would have thought that there would be people who do practical things? There must be prejudice when looking at people. Let's say that we look forward to the Jiuyuan County." On the boat, we thought that the Jiuyuan County was full of spring, with green river on both sides, and there was always a bright sun on both sides. That piece of magnificence was truly peerless. That kind of deep affection was indescribable, but no matter what, he could not figure it out. At the end of his line of sight, there was only pure yellow sand. We think that the Jiuyuan, who is similar to us, must live a happy life. He has beautiful clothes to wear every day. He can eat delicacies every day like the Sanshui County. He just needs to play happily all day long, and doesn't have to bear the suffering of the world. But now I have to say that the children of the Jiuyuan are not ordinary. After the cold wind, what is left is still a bright smile. They are more sensible than other children. The nursery rhymes they sing resound for a longer time. When the stars are shining and the moon is sleeping in each other's arms, how can the children of the mainland know the bitter cold of the frontier fortress? If the children of the scholars of the capital are candles, then the children of businessmen must be red furnaces. And you are dewdrops. You don't need warmth, because you are used to suffering. You don't need pity, because you have been guarding, following the footsteps of your family with a young body, in the border, on the river, bravely chasing. Maybe, the children of the capital will never know your hard work, but you will smile and bless them. Maybe in the cold rain, you grit your teeth and bear the loneliness, but you keep telling yourself, don't cry, I'm just making it up, Xiao Bei, you see it's all your fault, isn't it?" Xiao Yuan finally made the little boy cry. He was flustered and didn't know what to do. He asked Xiao Bei for help. It's okay. You go." Xiao Bei waved to Gong Shuhi, who was looking back at him, and then pulled the little boy and said, "Look, I just said that Gong Shuhi is fooling people. Who doesn't know how to be emotional? He just wants us to let him go. If he is silent all the way, we may give him a chance, but he talks too much. If we really let him go, it will be the biggest injustice to Yang Danzi's father, right?" The little boy wiped his tears and said with a pout, "I know what you said makes sense, but why do I still feel so sad when I hear it?" "That's because Xiao Yuan can't do it. My brother said before that life is sad enough. Why write other words to make people more sad? If we can't reach the realm of no joy and no sorrow, then try to make people happy. The real good article is to make people laugh and forget after reading it, not to be engraved in their hearts after a painful experience. If you are happy, you don't need to remember me." Xiao Bei continued to find reasons to comfort the little boy who was crying. "Nonsense. What did you ask for just now? Do you think it's easy for me? If you don't like it, you can find a child about my age in Tang Dynasty and let him say something. Let me see who can do it." Xiao Yuan did not want to do it. He was very tired just now. "Find someone about your age who is better than you, right? My brother." Xiao Bei mentioned a person. Xiao Yuan lowered his head. Xiao Bei said again, "My sister." Xiao Yuan lowered his head even more. "See, I'm not wrong, right? Some people don't know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is. They only studied for a few years, yet they dare to show off. You will be much better than them in the future." Xiao Bei continued to attack Xiao Yuan while comforting the little boy. The little boy did not agree with Xiao Bei's words at all. He enviously said, "When can I be like Xiao Yuan? Yang Danzi's sister will definitely like to play with me." "You are hopeless. I hate people who disregard their own character to please girls. Don't you think so, Xiao Yuan? Xiao Bei asked the little boy to be strong. Xiao Yuan immediately nodded. Yes, Xiao Bei is right. See, Xiao Yuan is the best. He doesn't need to please me. I just want him to have a fair character. Xiao Bei was very satisfied. The little boy was speechless. He waved his fist firmly because he understood. Gong Shuhe did not know that he had been crossed out in the hearts of Xiao Bei and the others. He was still trying to find a way to save himself. He led everyone to a workshop in the logistics department that he was in charge of. From 100 steps away, they could hear noises coming from the workshop. There was the sound of grinding and the sound of a hammer falling on an anvil. They could also see thick smoke curling up and the sound of wood being cut. After taking 2 steps forward, Gong Shuhe stopped. He turned around and shouted at Xiao Bei and the others. Do you see the smoke in front? Do you hear it? Ah. Xiao Bei frowned and replied. Don't shout. It hurts my ears. I can hear it. I'm used to it. Gong Shuhe continued to shout. I'm always waiting in the workshop. I can't help it. CKU. Xiao Bei was infuriated by Gong Shuhe's pretentious behavior. She no longer acted like a lady and cursed under her breath. She turned around and walked back to prevent Gong Shuhe from continuing to shout. The workshop's voice wasn't loud enough for him to shout. Everyone followed Xiao Bei and retreated another 50 steps. The workshop was even quieter. Only then did they stop. Xiao Bei scratched his ear and asked Gong Shuhe, Why did you ask us to come here? Gong Shuhe shouted, The workshop is in front. If you shout into my ear again, I'll hit you. Xiao Bei glared at him. Speak. What is the logistics workshop that you are in charge of? Gong Shuhe looked at the unfriendly eyes of Zhang Hu and the others and said softly, The workshop that I am in charge of is actually used to modify guns. You have to know that there are differences in height and requirements for guns. The same gun is not suitable for everyone. For example, the length of the gun but is related to the length of the arm, the quality of the eyes, and the stability of the body. There are also different requirements for the length of the gun barrel. For example, because of habit, there are different requirements for the recoil. For example, Xiao Bei couldn't take it anymore, so he pulled out his gun and pointed it at Gong Shuhe. Take my gun, for example. It was made according to my hand shape. If you keep talking nonsense, I will let you experience the difference between a bullet and a bullet. Xiao Bei was not lying. The bullets in her gun were bombs. In order to pursue lethality with low recoil, only a portion of the Golden Guards in the entire Tang Empire were equipped with such weapons. As for whether it violated international law, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not care. They both planned to use poison gas bullets. Violation of international law? Did the words little boy and fatty know about these 2 cute children? Gong Shuhe recognized the gun and did not dare to bet his life on whether the other party dared to pull the trigger. He quickly said, Actually it's the method that Yang Danzi's father thought of to encourage soldiers with good marksmanship and high combat skills. The little boy interrupted. Chapter 1173. It's Yang Danzi's father again. Xiao Bei and the others looked at each other and nodded tacitly. Their gazes towards Gong Shuhe were filled with hostility. They had come because Yang Danzi's father's contributions had been suppressed. Gong Shuhe also realized that things were getting out of hand. He reached into his pocket and twisted a few notes with his fingers. He slowly took them out and handed them to Xiao Bei. He smiled and said, According to the rules, I have to divide the benefits I get. Everyone who sees it has a share. Xiao Bei did not refuse. He took them and counted them seriously. He muttered, 100 coins, 200 coins, 300 coins. Yes, Gong Shuhe corrected softly. Oh, 600 coins in total. How much salary does a 9th grade soldier get every year? Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan shook his head in confusion. I don't know. Why don't you keep track of it? There are many things happening in the world. Do you think I remember? Let's ask someone later. I know. Depending on the type of army and the military region, the salary varies. In the past it was land and food. Now it's converted into money. I get around 5 coins and 441 coins a month. Gong Shuha reported. Xiaobei took the money and slapped it on his thigh. Yo. There's even a small change. 10 years of salary. You're really rich. What's the crime of being greedy for military expenses? You should be beheaded, right? Otherwise, you should be whipped until you die. Then you'll be exiled. The boy did not understand, but it did not affect him from venting. I've been greedy for money. I know that money is important in the military. Money, food, and military equipment are no small matter. A single coin of greed can destroy a hero's soul. Soldiers who charge are not afraid of dyeing the ground with blood. I know this, so I don't dare to let my soldiers bleed and cry while holding bad weapons. I won't die in peace. Gong Shuha quickly explained. He could not bear the crime. He was not like the local logistics officials. The local officials were only greedy because their lives were not good. They were greedy for money from military logistics. Even 100 heads would not be enough. That's how I get my money. Without waiting for Gong Shuha to finish speaking, Xiaobei walked forward and put away the money. He took a wet towel from someone beside him and wiped his hands. He then walked to the storeroom, where all sorts of noise came from. Someone stepped forward and pulled open the 2-meter-wide doors of the warehouse, revealing the scene inside. The situation was different from what Xiaobei and the others had imagined. It was not a murky atmosphere where the workers were working without any protection. All kinds of equipment inside were spaced apart and neatly arranged according to different areas. The people working wore thin leather gloves and protective masks that protruded out in front of their mouths. They were all bald and wore boots of unknown leather. Looking at the ground, it seemed that it had been artificially cut out into small grids. In the middle of the grids, there was a gap of 1 inch wide with water flowing through it. The powder that fell from the work was immediately washed away by the water. Stop. Xiaobei's voice was very high in decibels, and its penetrating power was strong enough that it could be heard over the noise of the grinding wheels and the air cutter. His shout had an effect. Everyone in the warehouse stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him. I am the patrol inspector of the Tang Empire, Zhang Xiaobei. May I ask who his father is? Xiaobei introduced himself and pointed at Yang Danzi. Everyone in the warehouse looked at one person at the same time. This person was standing next to an anvil. He held a piece of paper in one hand and a triangular ruler in the other. He did not follow everyone's gaze to himself. Instead, he looked at Xiaobei. There was a pencil between his bald head and his ear. Ha! Let me guess. It's you. Am I right? Xiaobei looked at the person confidently with a smile. The person who was pointed at took off the string of his mask. He hesitated for a moment before replying. Impressive. You got it right in one guess. Ha! Xiaobei guessed it and happily waved his fist. He then asked, What is your surname? Is it Yang? The person nodded with a rich expression. Without waiting for Xiaobei to continue, he said, My name is Fei, and my courtesy name is Yuntung. Xiaobei was surprised. He actually had a courtesy name. He must have some knowledge. He walked in front of the person with his hands clasped behind his back and looked at the paper. There was a picture on it. Xiaobei recognized it. As for what picture it was, Xiaobei coughed and turned around. Sister, come and help me look at the picture. Xiaozhu followed and recognized what it was at a glance. It's a 3-dimensional perspective picture of a lathe. It looks very complicated. Where did you get it? Xiaobei found the key point. How could there be a blueprint of a lathe in this place? Yang Yunting did not answer. He smiled reservedly and touched the pencil between his ears while holding the triangular ruler. Xiaobei and Xiaozhu understood. He drew it himself, but it was different from the sketches and gouache that Xiaozhu usually drew. Xiaobei felt the pressure from the technology. He took a deep breath and asked, What do you mean? Why did you draw it? Where did you hide the real thing? Yang Yunting turned around and walked to the left side of the warehouse. There were many handicrafts made of wood, such as gears, shafts, connecting rods, and other things. He said to the children who followed him, This is the real thing. I need to make a few parts that are more precise. I don't have any tools, so I want to make some tools first. The grinding machines and cutting machines in the warehouse were given by the imperial court. I will use them to make the parts one need into wood. After every small part is assembled successfully, I will turn it into cast iron and make a simple lathe. Then, I will use it to process better tools to make an even more precise lathe. Why don't you make a big lathe and then turn it into cast iron parts? Xiao Bei asked like a child who loved to learn. Because there are many steps to assembling wood, the force on the parts will increase. They will break before they can turn. Yang Yinteng explained. Okay, come with us. We have something to ask you. Gong Shuha, you are not allowed to follow. Xiao Bei reached out and touched the polished wooden parts. He could not hide the excitement on his face as he spoke to Yang Yinteng. The inspector is asking you a question. You must answer truthfully. You cannot make things up. Gong Shuha looked at Yang Yinteng with a serious face. As soon as he said that, he felt his chest tighten. He flew backward and crashed into a pile of wood. He did not know which part of his body hurt the most. Good kick. Who told him to talk too much? Xiao Bei looked at Zhang Hu who had sent him flying, with satisfaction. Yang Yinteng followed everyone. When he was about to leave he paused and said, Finish today's work. I will treat you to drinks tonight. Dad, do we still have money to treat people to drinks? Yang Danzi raised his head and asked. We will soon, Yang Fei said. Where did you get the money? Yang Danzi continued to ask. I have learned both civil and martial arts. I will serve the royal family. Yang Fei looked at Xiao Bei and the others. Xiao Hai looked sideways and whispered. You are very confident. He said that he wanted Yang Fei to follow them, but in the end, he was the one who found the place to talk. They entered a 4-room warehouse. The last room was actually a study. There were paintings and scrolls on the wall. There was a faint smell of ink. It was not the stinky kind. The 9 children were shocked. They were not shocked by the layout of the study. They were shocked that this study belonged to an unranked craftsman in the local army logistics department. You are occupying a room of 60 square meters for a study? Why? At first, Xiao Bei was biased towards Yang Danzi's father. He thought that Yang Danzi's ability was suppressed, and that he was living a wronged life. When he saw the study, he could not help but ask impartially. After speaking, Xiao Bei turned to leave. At this moment, Yang Yinteng finally felt afraid. If he really let the children leave, what if they did not listen to his explanation and directly attacked him? He quickly said, Wait a minute. I have a reason. Xiao Bei gave him face and stopped. He raised his hand to touch the door frame, then leaned closer to smell it. What is it? It smells like gasoline. Explain. Explain this smell first. This is an anti-corrosive paint that I created myself. There is gasoline in it. The gasoline is made by evaporating and cooling oil. I have a junior brother in the Ministry of Works. When it comes to craftsmanship, even 3 of him cannot compare to 1 of me. Later on, I could no longer improve my craftsmanship. I decided to change my profession and study literature. I even passed the high scholar examination. Later on, I realized that being an official is more tiring than being a craftsman. If a craftsman makes something good, it is good. If it is not good, it is not good. Being an official is different. It is hard to tell whether it is good or bad. Take Gong Shuha for example. Others think that he is a bad official, but I think that he is a good official. Yang Yinteng took a thermos bottle from the side and poured water for everyone. Speaking of which, he actually had a porcelain thermos bottle. He did not know who made it for him. Chapter 1174. The cups on the table were filled with water, and the thermos was empty. Yang Yunting saw that no one wanted to drink, so he didn't force them. He stood beside the table and continued, Gong Shuha, this person. Wait a minute, who is your junior? Xiao Hai asked. Yes. Let's talk about your junior first. He's too outrageous. He dared to leak the country's military secrets. Let's capture him first. Xiao Bei reacted. Yang Yunting was stunned and quickly explained. My junior didn't say the exact steps. He only said that the oil used by the tractors in the capital was evaporated from oil. There are different kinds of oil, and they were taken according to the temperature of the evaporation. After I found out, I figured everything out myself. How could my junior be considered a leak? Hey, nonsense. He didn't tell you what the oil was evaporated from. How can you make gasoline just by looking at the oil? Someone, go and tell my brother and sister. When my brother and sister come, I'll tell you about the leak. Let's talk about another thing. When I first heard people talk about you, I thought you were a good person. Xiao Bei didn't want to agree with Yang Yunting. In the room, Yang Danzi was the most nervous. Everyone was fine before. How did the target become his father? Yang Yunting smiled and glanced at the table. Drink water, drink water. After everyone ignored him, he continued to stand there. Everyone else was standing there. He rubbed his hands together and said awkwardly, "What my junior said is very important, but I can guarantee that I didn't tell anyone. I did the experiment under the guise of distilling wine. Wait until my brother and sister come." Xiao Bei continued to ignore him. Okay, let's talk about Gong Shuha. When I became a high scholar, I wanted to continue taking the exam. I failed twice, so I went to Hunan province to become a village official. The taste of yellow wine in the village was very strong. Every time an official heard about it, he would send someone to ask for it. 6 years ago, the county official's brother got married and ordered the village to buy wine. Because there wasn't enough, my position as a village official was removed. Yang Yunting said and drank a cup of water. This time, Xiao Bei did not rush him. Instead, he said, "Tell me the county where the registrar is located." Yang Yunting's eyes revealed a trace of excitement as he continued. Yes, I couldn't become the village chief, so I came out with him and his mother. I didn't dare to stay around. Even if I wasn't targeted by the registrar, I still felt embarrassed. Together with the parents and siblings on both sides, the whole family got on the boat. I heard that the more north you go, the more money you will get to teach in school. I am also a Jiren, so I should get more money. Going north, far from Hunan province, we followed the boat all the way to Feng'an. Now Yang Danner's grandfather and grandfather are also in Feng'an, so our family came to Jiuyuan County. 4 years ago, my younger brother, as a technician, tested the power of the third-generation steam engine ship against the current. As a result, when we arrived at Feng'an, the ship broke down. To be precise, the power room of the ship broke down. We had to let the tracker drag the ship to the dock for maintenance. Then you coincidentally saw your junior brother and came into contact with him. You found out more about him and couldn't help but come up with some wicked ideas. Using the excuse of serving the army, you lowered your status and ran into the army's logistics department to do some dirty things, right? Xiao Bei helped to explain. My father didn't do bad things. Young Danner retorted with a stiff neck. Xiao Yuan touched Xiao Bei's arm, and Xiao Bei smiled embarrassedly. I used to tell stories to Panner and others. When she smiled, the atmosphere in the room was much better, and the nervous children breathed a sigh of relief. Yang Yunting rubbed his son's head and said, "It wasn't a coincidence. My younger brother knew that I was in Feng'an, so after he stopped the ship, he deliberately came to find me. At that time, I was installing a hydroelectric generator on the Zhuangzi of a rich family that had just moved in. I wanted to make Zhuangzi's night as bright as day. It was only later that I found out that he wasn't a rich person, but rather someone sent by the imperial court to examine the operation of various things under different climates. At the same time, he was to discover the local craftsman. When my younger brother came, he got in touch with that rich person, and then taught me the blueprints of the steam engine. I studied it for 3 days and found the problem. I also fixed the ship's power source. After that, my younger brother advised me to enter the Ministry of Works, saying that there was a place in the Ministry of Works that was full of skilled people. The salary was also high, to the point that I was scared after hearing it. But I thought that if I followed him, I would have to learn a lot of skills from scratch. Others would look down on me and think that I was riding on my younger brother's coattails. I was a Jurin, and my relatives on both sides followed me. I couldn't take them there to be laughed at. At that time, I thought in my heart that if I didn't get something out of hand, I would never enter the Ministry of Works. My younger brother also supported me. He said that I used to be the most capable and smart, so he sent me learning materials. I studied for a year. I found that I didn't have anything on hand, and it was too expensive to buy. What should I do? Go to the logistics department of the army. There are a lot of things there, but the money is a little less. Xiaobei followed the words. Yang Yunting clapped his hands as if he had met a confidant. Yes, I thought about it for 2 days before I thought of it. You are still the best. It's just eso. Xiaobei said shyly. I thought about it for 2 days. I handed in my household registration and told my identity. I entered the army of Jiuyuan County and became a logistics craftsman. I found 2 things. There were things, but I couldn't use them casually. The second was Gong Shuhe, who was clearly a villain. I began to think about him again. After half a month, I finally figured it out. A villain is good. A villain pursues profit. If he wants 1 point, I will give him 2 points, as long as I have enough materials to use. I had an idea. I didn't have money, so I couldn't give it to him. But he was also an official. An official needs political achievements. I began to design ideas for the places he was in charge of to get political achievements. I think you have seen it all the way. I didn't tell him directly. I said that a villain like him would not only not be grateful to me, but would also retaliate against me, thinking that he was not as good as me. I can make wine. It's cold in the north. I propose to use barley to make wine to keep everyone warm when it's cold. Gong Shuhe liked to look for me. He asked me to make good wine for him. I drank with him. After drinking for a while, I got drunk. I kept talking about all kinds of ways to build the camp. He even said that if I showed the methods to the higher-ranking officials, I would be rewarded and put in an important position by the court. He also said that even if I was afraid of being targeted by the imperial court, I could still sell it to the officers of the other military camps. If I could get a sum of money, it would be a sum of money. Plus, with the logistics and trading with the commoners, it would be another sum of money. Speaking of this, Yang Yunting stopped and looked at Xiaobei and others without saying anything. The 9 children nodded almost at the same time. Dad, when can we go to the capital? Didn't you say that we can go to the Ministry of Works? Yang Danzi's IQ was obviously not as good as Xiaobei's, and he asked expectantly. Soon. Yang Yunting repeated and sighed again. If that's the case, your stepping stone is the lathe map. You who are always bullied in the eyes of others, are actually plotting against Gong Shuhe. When he thinks that he's getting benefits and earning money, you can act according to your thoughts without worry, and he's covering for you. In fact, I feel that you can be an official now. If you meet a registrar who wants wine, you can definitely scheme against him to death. Many times you don't need to use a knife to kill people. After Xiaobei finished speaking, he suddenly felt that this matter was not fun at all. One was a soldier who was being schemed against, while the other was a high school graduate who wanted to break through the shackles of his craftsmanship and improve it. The teacher, who had a strong learning ability, designed one plan after another that had a huge positive effect on military logistics on the road to higher levels of industrial technology. This kind of thinking, which many higher-ranked officers yearned for but could not reach, was actually a disguise thrown out by him in the process of protecting his research. How could the logistics officers who were thinking of the barracks endure this? Geniuses are all crazy. Should I thank Gong Shuhe for giving Yang Yunting time to research technology? Or should I blame Gong Shuhe for bullying his subordinates? Should I praise Yang Yunting's spirit of research over the years? Or should I punish him for framing others? Xiaobei lowered his head and muttered. Yang Yunting stood there and did not make a sound. He waited for the group of children in front of him to judge him. Chapter 1175. For a moment, other than the sound of panting, there was no other sound in the room. Yang Yunting's eyelids kept blinking. Even if his body did not show any signs of trembling, it could not hide his panic. Life and death, honor and disgrace were all in the hands of the 9 children. The local children were frightened. They kept looking at Xiaobei and the others. Young Danzi came to his father's side. He grabbed the corner of his father's clothes with both hands and pursed his lips. Xiaobei's face was so worried that it looked like a flower. The other 8 people also had different expressions. Some were looking at the roof, some were looking at the ground, and some were looking around. Zhang Hu and the other guards who followed him were expressionless and motionless. It seemed that other people's matters had nothing to do with them. Let's have a short meeting, Xiaohai said at the crucial moment. The other children nodded. Wait, we'll go out and discuss. We'll be back in a while. Before they went out, Xiao Bei said something to Yang Yunting that seemed to be reminding and warning him. The Tang patrol officials gathered outside the door and whispered for a full 15 minutes. Then they came back with heavy faces. Xiao Bei, the special spokesperson, said, Yang Yunting, we have made a decision about your matter. Hearing this, Yang Yunting tried to make himself look as calm as possible. He squeezed out an out-of-shape smile. The way the muscles on his face kept moving made him look like he was crying. We've decided to leave the matter of you and Gong Shu to your brother and sister to decide. Xiao Bei's tender and clear voice sounded again. Why? Yang Yunting squeezed out a sentence from his throat. It's because your matters are too complicated. We're too young and haven't learned much, so we're stumped. Face is important to us, but justice is even more important. Who asked us to be patrol inspectors? This time, many people are going to be unlucky, especially the few patrol inspectors who patrol the various armies. The imperial court gave them a lot of benefits, not just for show. Xiao Bei looked very unhappy. Perhaps it was because she, who thought of herself as an adult, finally realized that they could not handle everything. Yang Yunting sighed and did not speak again. He nodded to show that he accepted his fate. However, his son Yang Danzi gathered his courage and asked Xiao Bei, My father did something wrong. What about your father? Your father is the Minister of Works. Would he be fine if someone leaked the information? Whether my father is fine or not has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to absolve my father and say that it's the responsibility of the people in the Ministry of Works. My father doesn't know. I'm just saying that I'll let whoever makes my father uncomfortable know what it means to be uncomfortable, because I know that my father is the best. He is good to his family, good to his subordinates, good to his colleagues, good to his work, and loyal to the great Tang. My father is a true gentleman, at least more so than my brother, even though my brother always says that he is a true gentleman. Then he turned to the local children and said, Come with us. We'll treat you to dinner. I'm not going. I want to accompany my father. Yang Danzi clearly didn't think that food was more important than family, even if he could eat the food personally cooked by Zhang Xiaobao. Yang Yunting patted his son's head in relief. Go, you can speak for your father when you go. All right. Yang Danzi rolled his eyes and agreed. When Xiao Bei and the others returned to the restaurant, Zhang Xiaobao had already prepared the food. He had received the news in advance that his younger brother and sister wanted to invite others to dinner, and had some troublesome matters to deal with. There was a table that was 3 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 1 meter tall. There were no less than 16 dishes on it. They were all placed on large plates, but there were no stools. It seemed that they were planning to let the children eat as they pleased in a buffet style. Zhang. Xiaobao, my father didn't betray the great Tang. As soon as the banquet started, Yang Danzi grabbed the hem of his clothes with both hands and looked up at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked serious and nodded firmly. I already know. Don't worry, your father won't be worse than before. Will he be executed? Yang Danzi was still nervous. Why are you so stupid? I already said that you'll be better than before. How can you live after you die? You're much more stupid than your sister. Eat, the little boy said happily to Yang Danzi. Do you want to be beaten? Afraid of you? If you have the guts, let's fight on horseback. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not accompany the children to eat, leaving enough space for the children to play. The two sat opposite each other and cooked hot pot, the copper hot pot with a chimney, burning charcoal. With pickled cabbage, fatty meat slices as the base, and some small crabs and shrimps, there are noodles, blood sausage, frozen tofu in the plate, only cabbage, and the rest are all fresh mutton slices. The wine pot is boiling with white wine, and the dipping sauce is simple chives and garlic sauce. There is no fermented bean curd. The main thing is that fermented bean curd and pickled cabbage are more enjoyable than eating raw seafood. The smell is unbearable for the two. Eat. I didn't expect to find talents in the Jiu Yuan. Zhang Xiaobao picked up a piece of meat and swung it back and forth in the pot, saying happily, "It's the inspector's dereliction of duty." It's estimated that they thought that the local army would not have any major problems, so they dared to deal with it. Unlike the personnel of the inspection administrative officials, the local officials always have such an excuse to reach out. My opinion is to assign the inspection personnel. Wang Wan did not move her chopsticks, and her eyes looked at the fire coming out of the hot pot chimney. Zhang Xiaobao simply threw half a plate of meat into the hot pot, boiled it like a stew, picked up the wine pot, and tested the temperature. When it was hot, he poured a cup for Wang Wan and himself, and held the wine cup and drank the 3 coins of wine in it. Then he took a deep breath, smacked his lips twice and said, "Good wine, worthy of Wuliangye." Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh. "You can pull it down. The wine is indeed distilled from 5 kinds of grains, and it has been stored for several years, but what does it have to do with the Wuliangye you said? The quality and taste of Wuliangye depends on the wine mud when it is stored in the cellar, okay? Is there such a thing? I really don't know. I just think that all the wines that have been in the cellar for a long time are good to drink. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many famous wines in the world. Every kind of famous wine is related to the cellar age. If there is no wine that belongs to its own history, no matter how good the taste is, it won't be praised. For example, old vinegar, black tea, ambergris, and even a lot of wood used to make violins. Of course, those with short shelf life don't count. Look at the United States. They never take the initiative to mention their own history. Why? Isn't it because their history is short and they don't have a heritage? They are a colonial country, and the local people have a history, but it will not be recognized by the colonial descendants as their own history. This wine the people at that time drank was basically blended, and blended to have a unique taste. Unfortunately, no matter how blended, it can only deceive people who don't understand wine. People like me, they can't be deceived. Zhang Xiaobao held the wine cup, and his eyes were deep, following the rotation of the wine cup. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. "Okay, don't be a melancholy bard there. That is not a glass cup for drinking wine, it is porcelain. When you talk about wine, are you looking at the wine cup or the cup? I know you have good taste and experience, so you can taste the quality of the wine." "Wrong, I look at the wine cup to tell others that I don't know how to drink, so I never order wine of many years. Every time I drink, I tell the waiter to give me the worst blended wine. That way, they can't deceive me. And I only pay for the worst wine. They must be stupid, right? I am stupid. They actually mixed ordinary white wine into my orange juice, and called it a cocktail. In the end, I paid for the whole cup of wine. Is orange juice and wine the same price? Now we are talking about how to deal with this matter, and it has nothing to do with wine. I was led astray by you." Wang Wan finally reacted. Zhang Xiaobao put down the wine cup, pondered for a moment and said, "You didn't. There are many legends about the origin of the name of the cocktail, but I think they are all incorrect. The biggest characteristic of this wine is that it has different flavors and distinct levels. In order to show this, the color of the wine is very rich, just like the gall chicken. The color of the body is divided into different levels from head to tail, so it is called this name. The translated chicken is not the head, but the head. The color of the wine is the same as the color of the gall chicken. Some people just drink at random and don't try to taste every kind of wine that is blended in. Some people specifically point out every kind of wine that is added in to show their purity and knowledge. What about you? Which one do you choose?" Wang Wan was led astray again. "I choose the one with relatively less orange juice. Otherwise, it is not worth spending the money to buy juice. But many young people choose to drink casually, and many people who feel that they have status specifically taste it. What I admire most is the old people drinking this wine. After drinking a mouthful of wine, the smile on their face is more complex and chaotic than the cocktail." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he poured himself another cup. Wang Wan pretended to be enlightened and nodded, then asked, "Is it related to what I just said about how to deal with this matter?" "Yes. The reason why the old people are better at tasting wine is because they have experienced too many years. Time is actually a cocktail. When too much time has passed, we realize that there is no need to distinguish the taste of each age. Life is full of ups and downs. Without color, what is the point of living? So since Yang Fei made things complicated for simple purposes, we will agree with him, and then deal with him according to his thoughts. Let him slowly understand the complexity of the simple punishment. Zhang Xiaobao raised his head and drank all the wine in the cup. Wang Wan reached out to stop Zhang Xiaobao before he touched the wine pot and said, "You don't need to drink to drown your sorrows in other people's matters, right? You still haven't said how to deal with him, for example." For example, in the past, he was afraid that he didn't have the ability. In fact, he didn't want to be inferior to others, at least not inferior to his junior brother. We arranged for him to do chores under his junior brother, clean the laboratory equipment, and hand tools and experimental materials to other researchers. Eat, don't let me eat alone. Zhang Xiaobao reached out with his chopsticks and scooped up a lot of meat, and put it on the plate in front of Wang Wan. Oh. Wang Wan nodded and lowered her head to eat the meat. She threw the small crabs that were accidentally brought up back into the pot, and drank a cup of wine. She said, "Wuliangye is really good, but don't you think that if we deal with it according to what you said, we will be burying a talent?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't answer immediately. He continued to put a lot of food into the pot, and covered it with a lid that had a hole in the middle that could fit the chimney. He listened for a while before saying, "It's not burying." Wang Wan blinked and waited for him to continue. Yang Yunting may think that he has learned very well. A person who designed a lathe through self-study, in my opinion, he is still far from it. I don't think that he is very good at learning to this extent in 4 years. Maybe he is proud, but can he be more proud than you and me? From now on, if I don't do other tiring things, I will be like him. In 2 years, I can make a better lathe than him. Who can go to the Ministry of Works Research Department isn't a genius. If I really let him be an important researcher, how long will he have to delay that project? Letting him do chores is a simple order. Learning while doing chores is complicated. I let him see the abilities of others, let him understand the profoundness of the industry as a whole, and let him understand that one person is not as good as a team with good teamwork. Didn't we just see the blueprint that he designed? The lathe is really good. He thinks that he is qualified to enter the Ministry of Works with that blueprint. I think he thinks that he can be above others, but that is because his junior kept secretly showing him the blueprint of the Ministry of Works lathe. His results are based on other people's hard work. If we don't train him, the Ministry of Works won't be able to control him in the future. I can't bear to kill him, right? After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao looked at the wine cup in silence. Wang Wan helped Zhang Xiaobao fill the wine cup. "Yes, you are right. Just like you, when we caught you, we wouldn't kill you. We would let you hand over your property first, then train you and let you receive ideological education. Yang Fei arranged this. What about Gong Shuha?" "Him. Haha, bring him along. I have a better place to settle him. To be honest, I prefer to deal with Gong Shuha slowly." Zhang Xiaobao suddenly became happy, like a child who had found a new toy. Chapter 1176. The moon has set once again, and the sun has risen once again. Zhang Xiaobao and his party, who did not intend to stay in Jiuyuan County, set off. Yang Fei and Yang Yunting were finally arranged to work in the Ministry of Works as they wished. The difference was that it was different from the kind of work he imagined. It was not a researcher, nor a specific person in charge of a project, but a handyman. Before the team boarded the ship, Yang Fei chased after them and dared to ask Zhang Xiaobao why he was given the same ident. 1. Tai as an apprentice. The machine tool you made is really good, but for us the technical level is too low. It is nothing more than the synchronization of the 3 speeds of the vertical axis when the horizontal axis is given, but I ask for a 3-axis linkage. You think about it. Zhang Xiaobao dropped a sentence and irresponsibly boarded the ship. What is a 3-axis linkage? Yang Fei was stunned. Little Hai kindly told him when he passed by. There is an axis that is not on the same plane as the horizontal or vertical cross-section of the horizontal axis and the vertical axis, but it can be moved at the same time and can do 3-dimensional carving. How do you do it? Yang Fei was surprised. Even children know? When you do a good job as a handyman, you will understand. Little Hai also left an irresponsible sentence. When the fleet disappeared from the sight of the people at the dock, Yang Fei was still squatting on the ground to draw a three-dimensional picture. Wang Wan stood at the bow of the ship with Zhang Xiaobao and said to him, "You are really bad enough, and you also have a three-axis linkage. Do you know what a linkage is?" As a successful liar, there is nothing in the world that I don't know. A three-axis linkage is that one axis, two axes, and three axes move together, so that the car can drive. Otherwise, if there is an axis that is not moving, either the axis is broken, or the bearing is idling there. Of course, if it is in gear, it may be that the gear is not in gear, and it is in an idle state. Zhang Xiaobao said with a pedantic face. Wang Wan nodded. You're right. Liars are good at changing concepts. What's the difference between the three axes when you're driving and the one axis on a machine tool? If you include the steering wheel, you can probably come up with a theory of a 10-axis linkage. Zhang Xiaobao squinted his eyes against the sunlight shining on the river. He looked very peaceful. Thank you. I can't believe you remembered my good points. Have you seen Gong Shuha? I saw him get on the boat earlier. Wang Wan looked back and said, he should be in the cabin. I think he's very sad. It wasn't easy for him to earn some money and make a few friends, but they're all gone because of you. No matter what you say, he's really attentive to logistics, even if his purpose is to give Yang Fei's method a big favor or sell it for a good price. Yes, I admit that Gong Shuha was definitely a good official and a good professor in our time. It's a pity that he didn't have a good idea and was caught by Xiao Bei and the others. We reached out and brought him along to help him. Otherwise, what kind of consequences do you think he would have suffered? Zhang Xiaobao sighed. Wang Wan smiled and said, if we didn't bring him along, he would have been sent to Jing. Li Longji is used to being with us. Plus, when Xiao Bei and the others are around, it's lively and warm. After leaving for such a long time, it'll be very troublesome. If he suddenly found out that Xiao Bei and the others sent an official back, he would definitely skin Gong Shuha alive. When you mentioned Gong Shuha earlier, did he have anything to do with the professor? Yes. Many professors don't do their own research anymore. The students under them are beautiful and can be used to soothe the body. Those who aren't beautiful naturally have to contribute results. If you don't let me put my name at the front, I won't let you graduate. Zhang Xiaobao was still smiling. Suddenly, he saw a fish jump out of the river in front of him. His mood improved. He continued, it's better now. The students know how to respect their teachers, and the teachers know what it means to be a role model. Yes, soothing the body is a good use of the idiom. According to what you said, it can also help to solve physiological needs. Gong Shuha's younger brother went too far. He dared to pass on technical information. Regardless of whether the result is good or bad, his actions are wrong. Wang Wan remembered the matter of confidentiality. Idiom? Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. Well, count it as an idiom. People who understand the dialectical relationship of contradictions should never always stare at difficulties, but should find opportunities in threats. A hypocrite who doesn't know how to find an entry point to attack his opponent and shirk responsibility when he is in trouble is definitely not a good official. For example, Wang Wan waited for Zhang Xiaobao to give an answer. As for the words of the official, it was taken as a passing wind. For example, send a telegram back to ask for further attention to confidentiality measures, improve the patriotic ideology of the staff in the Ministry of Works, increase the basic investment in defense, and build an excellent guard team. Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth. Wang Wan blinked and frowned. Tell me the details. I've already understood the spirit of the central government. The specific things are done by the people below. Have you ever seen any general secretary farming by himself? The emperor has a field of 3 acres for fun. Don't stare at me. The specific thing is to go back and publicize what happened in the Jiuyuan. Then the Ministry of Works will leak a lot of technology in private, and secretly put a high price on it to see who wants to buy it. Zhang Xiaobao was stared at by Wang Wan and finally said something. It's easy to leak secrets. It's true, but it's fake technology. We'll catch him later. It's just a case of phishing. The intelligence department has nothing to do anyway. I'll take a break and meet Gong Shuha at dinner. Zhang Xiaobao stretched and walked toward the cabin. It's pitiful. Wang Wan was sad for Gong Shuha and followed him. In a small cabin on the flagship, there is now fog, to be precise, steam. Gong Shuha watched the electric stove alone to boil water and make tea. The water was poured into the teapot. The kettle continued to be filled with water and boiled there, making a steam in the cabin. The tea was good tea. Gong Shuha had tasted it. It was not preferential treatment for him. The worst tea on the ship was much better than what he could buy. Cup after cup of tea went into his stomach. In the beginning, the taste of the tea was light, and he changed it again. Later his mouth was numb. He could no longer distinguish between the dry taste and the aftertaste. It was as if drinking water was the taste of tea, and even breathing was the same. Bah! Gong Shuha spat out the tea tip that he had just chewed. He stared at the teacup made of purple sand and watched the steam rise. He muttered, "Did I take advantage of him? I don't have any money. It wasn't easy to take the method of flying sheep for myself. I sold part of it to the logistics of other armies to make money, and part of it was given away as a favor. Now I have nothing left. I have to think about it." As he said that, he really started to think. He tilted his head and tapped his hand on the table. It was as if he was trying to figure out what had gone wrong. After half an hour, a look of realization appeared in his eyes. He muttered again, "Favor really can't compare to money. Money really can't compare to favor. Zhang Xiaobao took away all my money and taught the people who owed me a favor a lesson. The favor left behind in the past became hatred. Good, this is a good move. I shouldn't have kept the favor back then. I should have exchanged it all for money, and then hid some of it. No, I was afraid when I looked at Zhang Xiaobao. I should have exchanged it all for favor, and then used it. It's troublesome to have the people above me owe me a favor. If I go up, I can't be better than Zhang Xiaobao. If you give me another chance, I will use this favor to help those who are not as good as me. I can help a lot. Even if half of them are ungrateful in the end, there will still be half who can help me with small matters. Zhang Xiaobao can't possibly take care of his subordinates, right? Yes, it was my mistake. I can't blame anyone else. Who told me to not have a good position? This time, I escaped a disaster. Since Zhang Xiaobao brought me on board, how could he kill me? As long as I'm alive, there will be a chance in the future." Suddenly, Gong Shuhe understood the situation clearly. He no longer worried about the past, and began to plan for the future. He reached out to turn off the electric stove, got up, and opened the door. He took a deep breath of the cool air outside and slowly exhaled. He smiled at the person guarding the door and said, "Excuse me, I'm hungry. Get me a bowl of thick porridge. A big bowl, a small plate of pickles, and 4 meat buns." "Wait." The guard turned around and went to take care of it. After a while he returned with a tray in his hand. There was a big bowl of porridge, 4 steamed buns the size of a fist, and 4 small plates of pickled vegetables. As soon as the tray approached, Gong Shuha smelled the smell of shrimp oil. "Thank you. It's worth it to be able to eat the food cooked by the chef in the inner courtyard." Gong Shuhe took the tray and thanked him. He happily turned around and went in. The guard was very surprised. He couldn't understand why Gong Shuhe, who was a prisoner, didn't have the awareness of a prisoner. Gong Shuhe didn't care about what others thought. He ate the bun in 3 bites and drank the porridge with the pickles. Happy wrinkles squeezed onto his face. "It smells good. It smells good. I'm alive. Since yesterday, I haven't had a moment of peace. I'll catch up on some sleep later." Gong Shuhe ate and went to sleep. Xiao Bei and the others, who were watching from the side of the cabin, looked at each other. It's no wonder brother didn't teach him a lesson. His psychological quality is excellent. At this point he can still adjust himself. In one day he's fine. There's no need to worry. He's really awesome. He can still sleep soundly after eating and drinking. It's just like what sister said. This place of peace is my home. He's a talent, a 1 in a million talent. Xiao Bei looked through the small hole, and saw that Gong Shuhe had just fallen asleep and was already snoring. Don't use words blindly. I feel that this place of peace is my home, but there's still a trace of helplessness, Xiao Yuan gently corrected. Do you think he has nigh now? Xiao Bei asked. Has nigh? What kind of nonsense is that? The opposite of helplessness is nigh? Xiao Yuan hated it when people made mistakes. Understand. Who said that I can't use words that didn't exist before? Did you notice? We finally dealt with someone, but in the end we lost the chance to judge him. It's not fun, right? Where can we find fun again? If I don't deal with people for a few days, I can't find a place to feel comfortable. Xiao Bei seemed very regretful. Xiao Hai and the others also sighed. They thought that bad people were not easy to catch. Xiao Yuan's eyes turned and he suggested, why don't we ask Gong Shuhe? He's always around, so he knows a lot about all kinds of schemes. He'll think of a way. If it works, we'll give him a sum of money. That works too. The unluckiest ones aren't him and Yang Danzi's father, but the people who patrol the army. There's a batch every month. They didn't find the first batch, and they still didn't find the second batch. If they don't get beheaded, they'll be exiled. At worst, they'll be locked up for 8 to 10 years. Xiao Bei thought about the patrol and shook his head. He had a self-satisfied look on his face. Because you're different from them. Zhang Xiaobao's voice suddenly came from the door. Chapter 1177. Brother, the person you found is really good. Look at how he's sleeping. He's even snoring. Seeing his brother come, Xiao Bei immediately rushed over. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He was obviously very satisfied. He continued, the Tang Empire's inspectors are trying to find evidence to prove that there is something wrong with the officials. When you see an official, you immediately inferred that he is guilty and maliciously speculated about him. If the officials want to get rid of you, they can only prove that they are not guilty. During the process of the official's proof, you maliciously analyze that every word he says is false. Therefore, the official is definitely innocent, and he can't run away from being innocent. But the inspectors can't do that. If they need the official to prove himself every time, once a month, or even once every half a month, the official won't have to do anything else. Wang Wan also added, and everywhere you go, the local people will help you. You don't have to be afraid of revenge. If it's the inspectors who ask the local officials, if they don't find any evidence, they are afraid that the officials will take revenge. That's right. Xiao Bei nodded. Whoever dares to take revenge on our witnesses will definitely die. If they really take revenge on us, as long as they are not dealt with cleanly and a survivor runs to any shop owned by our family to complain, my family's spies will immediately arrest them. That's not just the crime of taking revenge on the witnesses, but also against the emperor. We patrol the place on behalf of the emperor. Even if the emperor lets them go, I won't let them go. But why don't our family's spies always arrest people? If they are not evil or seriously affect the local people's lives, we can't do anything about it. If we do, how will the imperial court take its position? We can only take action when the people are in dire straits. But now that there are so many people patrolling, the officials don't dare to let the people under their rule know that they can't live anymore. Otherwise, they will be the ones to die. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Okay, let the imperial court take care of the matters of the imperial court. Let's go get the textbooks. Xiao Bei knew that his brother and sister had come over. It was time for class. Gong Shuhe slept until it was time to turn on the lights. The temperature in the cabin dropped. He did not cover himself with a blanket, so he was naturally woken up. He had just woken up and hadn't adapted yet. He opened his eyes and looked around. It was dark and very uncomfortable. After thinking for a while, he knew where he was. A feeling of emptiness spread through his whole body. He grinned and sighed. He bit and moved his sore and numb body and said to himself, I'm sorry, but I don't have enough strength. Everything will get better. There is hope as long as I am alive. Others can laugh at me and look down on me, but they don't have the right to deprive me of my right to live. A strong lone wolf can move unhindered across the grassland. Only a strong person can enjoy life. Nothing can make me feel bad. No one can expect to be happy when they see me suffer. Eat, and worry about annoying things. Do whatever you want. After hinting to himself, Gong Shuha was in a much better mood. He rubbed his face with his hands, got off the couch, and pushed open the door. All kinds of colored lights illuminated the deck, and the cabin high above the deck. At the same time, they were also illuminated by the starry sky. It made the gloomy atmosphere in the darkness disappear. A lively night is King beautiful. Have you changed people? Are you tired? Gong Shuhe raised his head and asked. He then greeted the other guard standing at the door. The guard knew that people who woke up at night were not feeling well, so he smiled back and said, I'm not tired. Brother Li is sick. I told him to put on more clothes, but he didn't listen. He finally got sick from the cold. He kept sneezing and has a fever. Huh. Gong Shuha was speechless. After a while, he said to the guard in front of him, Are you happy that he's sick? It's not a serious illness. He'll be scolded later. Last time, when I was sick, he was happy too. He said I could slack off. The guard did not think it was wrong for him to be happy. Gong Shuha smacked his lips. He felt that the guard was not gloating over his misfortune. He was concerned, so he did not want to scold him. He was not in a position to do so. Considering that he had nothing to do, he said to the guard, I'll go see Guard Li, show me the way. Medical cabin. It's written there. The guard pointed. All right. Gong Shuhe walked leisurely as he read the words on the ship's cabin. What are you doing? Gong Shuha followed the words to the medical cabin, but he was immediately stopped. Gong Shuha showed a sad expression and replied with great pain. I'm looking at Guard Li. Go to the cabin next door. Take a shower and change. Gong Shuha went in. Because of the conditions in the area, he had not showered for half a month. He had not changed his clothes for 10 days. After tidying himself up, he felt much better. When he was about to go in, the person who had stopped him said, Don't look like a dead person. You're at a funeral. Look at your face. Li Quan's illness is not serious. Oh, okay. I have to smile when I see a sick person. Gong Shuha smiled at the person who had stopped him before he was allowed to go in. As soon as he entered, he saw Guard Li leaning against the bed. He was reading a book in one hand and had a needle in the other. Li Quan looked very distressed. His mouth was down, and his eyebrows were furrowed. His head was tilted. One of his eyes was half closed, and the other was looking at the words on the book. It made people feel his helplessness and depression. Haha, Guard Li, have you been pricked? Tell me, how do you feel? Have you eaten? Gong Shuha looked happy and asked a few questions in a row. Li Quan was troubled. When he heard the sound, he knew that the person was looking for him because he was the only patient with the surname Li in the medical cabin. He put the book on his lap and looked up at Gong Shuha for a while. He sighed and said, Ah, yes, it's just a bottle of water. I have a fever, and my stomach is not feeling well. They are afraid that I will increase the pressure in my body if I eat, so they gave me saline. They will probably give me a bowl of soup later. They won't let me eat anything else for now. Gong Shuha was relieved. It seemed that the problem was not serious. Otherwise, they would not have given him saline. However, the doctors from the Zhang family and the Wang family took care of him very carefully. He was envious. Your fever is gone now? Gong Shuha asked with concern since he was here to see a patient. My fever dropped from 39 degrees in the afternoon to a little more than 38 degrees. They said that they would let me have a fever for a while, but it did not go down. They wanted to use physical cooling. If I had known, I would have worn more clothes. Li Quan was troubled again. He glanced at the book again. Gong Shuha looked down and saw that the cover had the words, The Habitual Perspective of Humans. He asked curiously, This book is for the guards to read. The guards are not only responsible for guarding the door, but they also need to protect the surroundings. They have nothing to do anyway, Li Quan said as he touched the cover of the book. Gong Shuha was about to praise him when two beautiful girls came over. One sat 20 degrees to Li Quan's side, and the other knelt on the bed behind Li Quan. The person behind Li Quan reached out and pressed his head. The person beside her took out a thermometer and said to Li Quan, Take a temperature. What do you want to eat for dinner? Boiled eggs. Li Quan asked them to put the thermometer under his armpit. No, change it. Roasted lamb leg. Add more cumin and chili. No, change it. Whatever. Okay. Gong Shuha wanted to laugh when he heard their question and answer, but Li Quan laughed first. Gong Shuha laughed and said to the girls, "You asked him and he didn't let you eat. Why are you asking him?" "What do you know?" the girl asked Gong Shuha. "I'm not asking him what he wants to eat. I'm asking him to relax. There is a lot to learn about the actions of medical personnel. Let me tell you. Do you think the medical cabin is big?" Gong Shuha nodded. "It's big. It's more than 10 times the size of my place. Do you have any idea?" "Of course. It's good for air circulation if it's big, but it's empty when it's big. That's why there are many medical personnel in the room. It's mealtime now, so there are people chatting and playing chess. At the same time, we have to keep an eye on the patient's expression. If the patient is upset, we will lower our voices. If the patient is not energetic, we will use a partition to separate the bed. Our goal is to let the patients feel comfortable and warm. They feel that even if they are sick, everything in life is beautiful. They don't have any other psychological burden. The most important thing to consider is to recover from the illness as soon as possible." The nurse's voice was very sweet and soft. It made people feel comfortable listening to it. "This lady's words are really nice." Gong Shuha continued nodding and praising her. "That's why I'm the one talking to Li Quan. My tone and expression have been specially trained. Look at where I'm sitting. I can't sit further back. That way, the patient's front will be too empty. If the voice comes from behind, he will be more alert. I can't move too far forward. It will affect the patient's vision. Because Li Quan is a bodyguard, he attaches great importance to the 30-degree and 45-degree angles, so I can't enter that area. At the same time, I'm sitting at the 20-degree angle, so Li Quan can see me from the corner of his eyes without turning his head." The nurse explained again. At the same time, she moved her body slightly to make it look less rigid. Gong Shuha was shocked. He didn't expect the medical personnel of the Zhang family and Wang family to take the patient's occupational habits into consideration. At the same time, he felt touched. He thought that the logistics he was in charge of was considerate enough in many aspects. However, compared to the Zhang family and Wang family, he realized that the difference was huge. The difference was like heaven and earth, and they were even in the basement. "You guys think so much. I think it will be very tiring." Gong Shuha immediately thought of another aspect. If they cared too much about others, they would definitely feel uncomfortable. "It's tiring. We are working. When we are not working, we are not tired. When we sleep and rest, we know that Li Quan and the other guards are guarding outside. When we eat, we know that the chefs will research new dishes according to the tastes of each group. Our meals are served 24 hours a day. They are not prepared in advance and heated up, but there are chefs on duty waiting for us to order," the nurse said with a blissful look on her face. Gong Shuha listened and was full of envy. He felt that a lone wolf on the grassland was not as good as a pack of wolves. If he had a warm home that he needed to protect, he would be stronger when facing all kinds of difficulties outside. Just as Gong Shuha thought that he was part of the Zhang family and Wang family, a voice came from the door. The young lady and the young master are looking for Gong Shuha for questioning. The warmth and solidity that had just risen in Gong Shuha's heart turned into the tenacity and sadness that a lone wolf needed to have. He could only stand up unwillingly. He squeezed out a smile at Li Quan and the two girls nearby and nodded. He turned around, pursed his lips and walked away. Chapter 1178. Gong Shuha was led all the way up. When he reached the top of the ship, the path became narrower and narrower. It was only 5 steps wide. Gong Shuha, who had never been to the top of a ship before, scanned the surrounding scenery. He wanted to remember it in his heart. He might not have the chance to do it again in the future. The only thing that made him feel at ease was that he knew he wouldn't die. He wouldn't even be imprisoned. It wasn't that his crimes were small. If he made a mistake, no matter how small, and the 9 children caught him, he would be beheaded or executed. That was innocent plus 5. Of course, none of the people caught by the 9 children were innocent. If they were innocent, they wouldn't catch them. "We're here. Wait." The person leading the way told Gong Shuha. He first pressed a button-like thing by the door. Then there was the sound of a flute, which surprised Gong Shuha. What was that? Someone played the flute as soon as he pressed it? Let him in. There was the sound of a trumpet. Gong Shuha knew this person. The person leading the way opened the door and gestured for Gong Shuha to go in. Then he turned around and left. Gong Shuha stepped in. He had clearly hinted that he wasn't afraid, but when he faced it, he suddenly felt an inexplicable fear. The room wasn't very big, but it wasn't small either. When he entered, he saw that it was about 6 or 7 steps wide. There was a high seat against the wall with sofas on both sides. In the middle was a large tea table made of frosted glass. It was heavy and elegant. On the left side of the tea table were 2 people, a man and a woman. The man, after seeing the 2 people, Gong Shuha didn't dare to think about anything else. He didn't dare to look at the layout of the room. He quickly lowered his head and said, "Sinner, Gong Shuha greets the 2 of you. Don't call us sinner. We are not in charge of investigating. Cuckoo and I are the governor and deputy governor of the northern part of Hebei province. We have no right to interfere with government affairs. Sit." Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth and spoke. At the same time, he pointed at the chair opposite them. Gong Shu Weiwei looked up. His previous calmness was no longer there. His legs couldn't help but tremble. He nervously said, "This official doesn't dare." "Yes. This official, sit." In the end, Gong Shu walked over to Zhang Xiaobao and sat down across from him, but he only took up 1/3 of the seat. He had wanted to not sit, but he suddenly felt that if he didn't sit when they asked him to, he would be guilty. Zhang Xiaobao saw him sit down and looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan nodded and picked up a pen to take notes. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Gong Shuha seriously and asked, "Do you know why I called you here?" Gong Shuha raised his head to answer. He opened his mouth but suddenly fell silent. He kept thinking. As a smart person, he knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. If he answered well, he would be fine. If he answered poorly, the 2 people across from him, who said they didn't care about government affairs, would not be satisfied. He would still be handed over to Xiaobei and the others to deal with according to the rules. Faced with this opportunity, Gong Shuha was a lot more cautious. He didn't care that the 2 of them were waiting for him to answer. He tried to analyze the situation at hand. He revealed everything he had done, including deceiving, bribery, colluding with colleagues, and dealing in logistics. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not in a rush. They patiently waited, hoping for a surprise. Otherwise, they would deal with it as they should. After a full 15 minutes, Gong Shuha raised his head again. His eyes were resolute as he answered, "I know. I am still useful in your eyes." "Why do you say that?" Zhang Xiaobao still asked with a straight face. "Because my identity is not worthy of your attention. Killing me is easier than killing a chicken. To kill a chicken, you need to consider the removal of its feathers and the use of its blood to make blood tofu. Killing me is not that troublesome. When I made a mistake, the 2 of you realized that I had some skill in a certain area, so you could use it." Gong Shuha threw caution to the wind and spoke bluntly. He stared into Zhang Xiaobao's eyes, hoping to see something useful for him. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, did not reveal any emotions. The frequency of his blinking eyes did not change, the expression on his face did not change, and even the rise and fall of his chest when he breathed was not obvious. He was like a sitting monk. While Gong Shuha was disappointed, Zhang Xiaobao finally showed a small smile. It was like the spring wind melting snow, and it was brighter than the sunlight. It made people feel better. Gong Shuha immediately looked forward to it. It was good to have power. Just one expression could make the people below feel different emotions. It was a pity that he was only a 9th-rank official. This time, he didn't even have an official position. It was sad. Thinking about that, Gong Shuha lowered his head again. "Are you scared? If you are scared, it means that you are not confident. You do not have the means to make a final attack. So you need to train for a while. Otherwise, you will delay the proper business. Tell us, what do you think you are capable of?" When Zhang Xiaobao saw Gong Shuha's actions, he felt a little regretful. He then understood. After all, Gong Shuha was not like him or Wang Wan. It was normal for him to be afraid. If he had been a young man back then, even if he was facing the chairman, it would not have mattered. The people on the mountaintop and the ground were the same in each other's eyes. What did the people on the mountaintop cry or laugh have to do with him? Gong Shuha didn't know how vast the world was. After being an official for a long time, he was more afraid of officials who were more powerful than him. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he was suddenly shocked. He immediately thought that Zhang Xiaobao was going to find a bold person to go out and do things. It was estimated that it was related to the Duo cannibal people. After organizing his words, Gong Shuha slowly said, I guess it has something to do with what I did in Jiuyuan County. I pressed Yang Fei and took the good ideas he thought of for my own use first. I wrote letters and sent them to other logistics departments. I even sent them to the east and west roads of Shannon. Some of them were exchanged for money, and some of them were given favors. They took the plan provided by Yang Fei to the court and got a reward. Although I also had the opportunity to report to the court, I knew that I had to be careful about everything. I didn't dare to do it. If I didn't happen to meet you stopping in Jiuyuan, I could still be my own 9th rank official. Now I was caught. At first, I just thought it was bad luck. Today I figured it out. In fact, it was my luck. Otherwise, when Yang Fei entered the Ministry of Works with his design, the court would inevitably send people to the local area to check his background. At that time, where would I meet you two? Without you two, I am absolutely dead. I was caught by you because there was a problem in my job. I was caught by the court because I bullied the meritorious officials of the Ministry of Works. Gong Shuha said this and looked up at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan bowed her head and wrote. Zhang Xiaobao was still the same as before. He had to continue to say, I can give the most direct benefits to others when facing the reward of the court, which shows that I know how to endure. I can see the benefits that can be exchanged with others from Yang Fei's plan, which shows that I am smart and good at using all kinds of resources. Tell me what you want me to do. As long as I can do it, I will do it. Oh, and if I can't do it, I will think of a way to do it. Even if I have to go to the front lines and charge. After saying this, Gong Shuha sat there. His heart was completely relaxed. He had said what he needed to say, and he had done what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do. Zhang Xiaobao finally reacted. He turned his head and looked at Wang Wan. He gave Gong Shuha a look of certainty. He smiled and said, That is good. You take a knife and charge to the front lines. You will be a bait for my army. Don't worry. Your life will not be in vain. The moment the enemy attacks you, our cannonballs will definitely cover your position. Huh. Gong Shuha shivered. In that case, even if the enemy doesn't kill me, our cannonballs will kill me. Even if you die, you are still a hero. You are more important than Mount Tai. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Please forgive me. Just pretend I didn't say the last thing, Gong Shuha said with a smile. Now Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were truly satisfied. They were satisfied with how quickly Gong Shuha had adjusted his state of mind. He had only said a few words, but he had immediately turned into a cheeky smile. They had to admit that this was a good skill. Zhang Xiaobao put away the smile on his face. He said to Gong Shuha, Gong Shuha, I order that you are now a private battalion commander of Tang. You are independent of the other administrative departments of Tang. You are only responsible to the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. You are also responsible to the emperor. No one else has the right to question or assign you. What? Private battalion? I know about smuggling. It means secretly transporting goods that are subject to customs duties without paying customs duties. But, what is this private smuggling thing? It belongs to the military? It is official smuggling. Gong Shuha was scared. He knew how to smuggle. Zhang Xiaobao was even happier that he knew how to smuggle. He said to him, Smuggling is not allowed without an official sanction. Therefore, you must not be caught by the Tang Empire's people who are pursuing smugglers. Others do not know your identity at all. Only our family's spies know. I will tell His Majesty later, and His Majesty will know about you. Gong Shuha opened his mouth slightly. He was very clear in his heart that he was like a foreign spy. In order to hide his identity, He could only choose to run away or die when the border army chased after him. Otherwise, he would implicate other colleagues who were also abroad. They were heroes, but he did not want to be one. I really don't want to do it. Fine, I'll go all out. Do I need to have a superior? I can't always look for you too, and I might not be able to find you immediately. If I am caught, can I become a hero? Gong Shuha thought for a moment and knew what to do. Wang Wan put down her pen and said, "You belong to the Meteor Squad. It was established last year. In the future, someone will contact you. Your code name is Shang Yin. Even if you die, you cannot become a hero, at least not now. You can only get a record of shining. After many years, perhaps your name and file will appear on the list of contributions. If you are caught and don't die, you can escape. Someone will help you escape. After all, when smuggling becomes large-scale, you will have people. When others learn that you have escaped, they will believe you." Meteor Squad? I have never heard of it. Gong Shuha was puzzled. In theory, anyone who has been exposed has already shown. Fortunately, it has been established for a year and has not appeared, Wang Wan explained. Gong Shuha took a deep breath and said, "I understand. It's just like the song Stargazy Sky, in the military camp. Who shines in the sky, who falls in the night. The Big Dipper may not be eternal. Meteors are just passers-by. They are legends, and also silence. Don't be so tragic. You are a smuggler. If the Tang Empire's inspection team takes action, someone will inform you in advance. The people from other countries can't even coax you. How can they catch you?" Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said. Gong Shuha quickly clasped his hands and said, Thank you, thank you. I have one last question. Can't you find someone to be a private battalion commander?" "Yes, but then you will die. We can't bear to see a person with a little ability be killed. Remember, you have died once." After Xiaobei and Xiao Yuan returned to the capital, they always wanted to catch a few people to reflect the value of their existence, but others were smart enough to hide. "Do you understand?" Zhang Xiaobao reminded him. "I understand. Others are hiding. You didn't get off the ship and ran to the Jiuyuan to rest. I was killed by a group of children. Why did they have to invite Xiaobei and the others to eat barbecue? To be exact, I died in the hands of Yang Danzi's sister, and that old yellow dog his sister." After Gong Shuha vented the depression in his heart, he suddenly thought of something and immediately became happy again. He happily asked, "Am I a member of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families? Food is provided 24 hours on the ship. Go eat foodie." Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand like a fly. Gong Shuha stood up excitedly. "You two sit down. I am really hungry." After solving Gong Shuha's problem, the fleet continued to go against the current, stopping occasionally on the way. Before the group arrived at their destination, Yang Fei flew down with the flow of the river and arrived at the capital. His family was still in the area. He was now a menial worker and could not bring his family to live in the capital. The daily expenses were too high. Yang Fei planned to make achievements in the Ministry of Works and then bring his relatives to enjoy life. What he didn't know was that his family had already been brought over. For those who worked in the Ministry of Works, their family members had to be well protected. It was just like how Xiaobei and the others were surrounded by guards when they went out on a trip. Stupid plots like this where one's family members were threatened due to lack of consideration would only appear in TV series. Yang Fei's relatives needed to wait for him to make some achievements before they were allowed to meet him. Otherwise he would be even prouder. In a place guarded by layers of troops on the outskirts of the capital, Yang Fei saw the research site of the Ministry of Works. After the 100-meter-wide ring of forest, there were bald mountains, blue water, and hot air balloons echoing the white clouds in the sky. Without asking, Yang Fei knew that the 100-meter-wide woods were used to block the line of sight, because there were thorns between the trees. There were definitely many people hiding in them. Even if others were lucky enough to pass through the woods, it would be difficult to hide in the open place. So rich. Seeing such a large area in the capital's outskirts, Yang Fei sighed before he saw what was inside. "Senior brother, you're finally here. I was so worried that you were caught." If Xiaobei and the others caught you, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. Good. Where are sister-in-law and uncle? While Yang Fei was observing his surroundings, a person ran over from the opposite side and pulled on his hand as he spoke with concern. Oh, it's Hongyang. They didn't come. I'll bring them over in a few days. I was also worried about you and was afraid that you would be implicated. You look good, Yang Fei said excitedly. What can happen to me? I was warned once, so I'll be more strict in the future. Since senior brother is here, you will definitely make some achievements. Don't be depressed. If Xiaobao and Cuckoo really didn't like you, they wouldn't have sent you here. It's necessary to suppress you. Senior brother, follow me. Yang Fei's junior brother grabbed Yang Fei's hand and happily led the way. The two walked for a while, and then took a boat to float on the water for an hour. Finally, they landed on solid ground and came to a hill. Then they went up the stairs. First, they went up a flight of stairs with 354 steps, and then a small platform. Then, they went up another flight of stairs with 29 steps, and then another small platform. After that, they reached a flat area. This flight of stairs is built according to the calendar, so it says, day after day, year after year. Am I right? Yang Fei was actually in the mood to count while walking. His junior brother nodded repeatedly. Senior brother is still the best. I walked by it many times before, but then I heard someone talking about it. Look at the two sides. Actually, there will be a fire lit on the pillars at night to show that scientific research will continue day and night. The person who designed this place really put in a lot of effort, Yang Fei praised. What's there to think about? I heard that Xiaobao casually mentioned it, and then he and Yaoan spent half the night drawing it. Including the other designs, where would the two of them have the time to put in so much effort? His junior brother explained. They don't count. I'm talking about people, they aren't people, Yang Fei said gloomily. Chapter 1179. As they walked forward, they saw a big hall. It was 3 meters high and had vermilion painted pillars. There was a horizontal board with 3 words on it. Hall of Ridicule. Gushin this? Yang Fei saw the hall and asked his junior brother. Gushin was the name of his junior brother, Su Jian Su Gushin. In fact, the corners of Su Jian's mouth curled up, revealing a smile. He gestured with his hand and said, Senior martial brother, follow me in and you will know. Yang Fei, who had many questions in his mind, had to follow his junior brother. As soon as he entered the main hall, he saw a large glass cover on the first seat on the left. It covered an iron cupboard, and there was an object in the middle. It was made up of 4 wheels connected by a string, and there was a hook on it. Pulley block. Yang Fei recognized the object and looked at the corner. There was a bronze board with the words on it. Pulley block 3rd year of Kaiyuan, spring 2nd month, designed by Zhongwang Erzwang, Sanshui County, Mingzhou, Jiangxi Province. Yang Fei suddenly understood and said, Pulley block is from Zhongwang and Wang family. Why is it in the book? Senior brother, please go ahead. Su Jian led his senior brother to the next glass cover. This glass cover was big. There was a horizontal hollow wooden barrel in the middle, a wooden block, and a few wedges. There was also a bronze board next to it that said, Soybean oil press, 3rd year of Kaiyuan, 4th month, designed by Zhongwang Erzwang, Sanshui County, Mingzhou, Jiangxi Province. At this moment, Yang Fei didn't need his junior brother's introduction. He walked through the glass covers one by one. There was one or several objects in each cover. There was also a bronze board next to it to tell the audience what it was, when it was made, and who made it. The objects inside were as small as a grain of rice and as big as a boulder. Yang Fei looked at them one by one. His eyes were full of emotions. When he was looking at them, Su Jian said, Senior brother, it's not too late to look at them carefully another day. There are thousands of objects in this hall. There is only one hall in the whole mountain. We can't see all of them today. Let's look at the back. Oh, okay, Yang Fei said, but his feet didn't move until he was pulled by someone. He reluctantly followed his junior brother all the way to the end. Senior brother, please take a look. Su Jian pointed at the 6th last glass cover. Yang Fei was dumbfounded. After a while he said, This horizontal and vertical axis combination lathe? Su Jian and Wei Wei nodded. Please read the records. Motor-powered double-shaft linkage synchronous feed combination multifunctional lathe. The 18th year of Kaiyuan, summer, April, the Jiuyuan Logistics Battalion, Yongfei Yongyunting, collected the design theory of Fengyu, Fancheng, Song Xian from the Industrial Research Department of the Tang Dynasty, and integrated the Design Research Institute. Yongfei read out word by word in surprise. When the last word was spoken, tears flowed out of Yongfei's eyes. Junior brother, I am a sinner. Why did you carve my name? Back then, it was just a design. Who would have thought that it would be completed so quickly? Because there are other lathes. When senior brother came back, someone started to make it. As for senior brother's sin, it has nothing to do with the research results. If you designed it, you designed it. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will not erase your name for such a small thing. In the future, when they make something, they will still engrave senior brother's name. We will encourage them. Su Jian did not look at senior brother's tears, but touched the big glass cover and said softly. Yongfei raised his sleeve and wiped his eyes. He had already understood the meaning of this hall. He nodded seriously. Certainly, I didn't expect that a craftsman like me could leave a name for later generations. I have no regrets in this life. Senior brother is not only a craftsman, but also a Jiren. Oh, we will go out first, and come back to see when we have leisure time. Su Jian let senior brother out again. When he reached the door, Yongfei suddenly stopped and looked at a couplet engraved inside the door. He was curious. What does it mean that the couplet is not engraved outside, but engraved inside the door? On the right side of the couplet was written, mocking the ancients, laughing at the ancients. As a high scholar, Yongfei understood the meaning of the couplet. It said that it could mock the ancients, but it could also mock them. How good would it be to make something so small? Thinking about it, he felt that it made sense. People in the future would definitely make something better. He looked at the second couplet and saw that it said, glory in this world, glory in this world. The meaning of this sentence was that it was better to make something better today. Even if it was a huge object, it would not be difficult to make. Yes, our future generations would definitely make something better than us. We cannot compare to them. You have to know how small we are now. Yongfei sighed. Senior brother, wait a minute. Look at your feet. There is no more space left for the couplet. Just engrave it on the ground. Su Jian pointed to the ground and said. Yongfei listened and took a closer look. Wasn't it true? There were really words connected at the bottom of the couplet. The first line was starting from scratch and being down to earth should be praised, and the second line was forgetting one's ancestry, drifting flowers and waves without saying a word. This? Yongfei was shocked and said with a trembling voice. The first part of the couplet is, ridicule the ancients, laugh at the ancients, laugh at the ancients. How many small things can start from scratch and be down to earth? Exclaim in admiration. The second part of the couplet is, glorify the present age. The present age is vast and vast. How can one forget one's ancestors, floating flowers and waves without words? Isn't the purpose of this hall for future generations to mock us? Of course not. The hall of mockery isn't mocking us. It's mocking those who say that the ancients are not good. It's also telling us that even if we make better things in the future, we shouldn't mock our ancestors for not having them. Our ancestors passed down what they knew to us, and we should make better things and pass them down to our descendants. Those who think that our ancestors left behind little should think about what they can leave behind for our descendants. Who's more ridiculous? That's why it's called the Hall of Ridicule. Su Jian looked at the blue sky and white clouds outside the hall, and took a deep breath. Yes, we have to do better and not disappoint our ancestors. Our ancestors left us enough things, so we should make more things for our descendants so that they don't have to work so hard and take so many detours. Only then can we be considered to have completed what our ancestors left us. Let's go, take me to other places. The earlier we do things, the earlier we get results. Yongfei puffed out his chest and urged his junior brother. Outside the door, the spring flowers were shining brightly. The fallen leaves of last year were not visible. For Jiangnan, spring was very warm, but it was not the case in the northwest. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's fleet continued to go against the current, and it actually snowed. They didn't want to waste too much time on the road, so the two urged the fleet to go as fast as they could. The scenery on both sides of the river flashed past their eyes as the rolling yellow river flowed past. After more than a month, they finally arrived at a desolate place. There was a river called the White River here. When it entered the Yellow River, it was in the territory of Sichuan. The two of them needed to go to Zhang Feng's home, which was Yizhou. There were many things that their family transported there. At the same time, they needed to reorganize the army at the border with Tufan. Therefore, they chose this branch and changed to the land route when the ship couldn't move forward anymore. Standing at the bow of the ship, Zhang Xiaobao, who was about to disembark, looked at the land in front of him where there were no houses at all. He took a deep breath and said, "Are we really going to do this?" Last time, when we fought Tufan, we climbed a section of the snow mountain on the way back. Now we have to go through the grassland and snow mountain again. I hope our team can hold on. What are you afraid of? The Red Army went through this place during the long march. It's just that we went in the opposite direction, and we missed a large section of the grassland. It's a few hundred kilometers, and we can go through it in half a month. It's simple. When the time comes, let the ship continue to carry the things on the Yellow River and go against the current. After we reach Yizhou, we can have a good rest for half a month. Wang Wan waved her arm and said with vigor. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed his saliva and said, "Simple? Why don't I see it as simple? Do you know how many people died when the Red Army climbed the snow mountain and crossed the grassland? Do you know what equipment and conditions the Red Army had at that time?" Wang Wan asked and said, "When we go there, we won't be bombed by planes and we won't lack food. Our clothes are all duck feathers, and we can ask the hot air balloons to help airdrop supplies. Don't worry, we won't let you cook leather belts." That's true. We don't need to carry too heavy things, and we only need to walk a short distance on the grassland. Unlike them who had to walk in the grassland with difficulty. When the time comes, you can follow behind me. I have some experience. After all, I have all-terrain all-weather equipment. It's just that we didn't choose the right season. Why did we have to come after May? It's just the rainy season. Zhang Xiaobao only knew that they would have to take a long detour if they didn't take this route, so he said with a grin. Wang Wan smiled and said, "When the Red Army crosses the grassland, it's this season. Let's experience it. Fortunately, we don't need to be chased and intercepted at any time. We can tie people up with ropes, and we can pull people up if they fall in. We have time to stand in front of danger and be tools. It's just that Xiaobei and the others have to suffer. It's okay, we have adults to take care of them. Let's go get off the boat." Zhang Xiaobao also didn't want to suffer this kind of hardship. He called out and the team began to get off the boat. The place where they got off was temporarily safe. As for wild wolves, they would probably run away as soon as they saw people. There was a special medicine to disperse snakes and insects. After the team was organized, 1,000 people were already prepared. The other large teams continued to take the boat to the northwest first. When they reached the border, they disembarked and walked. Then they set up camp and waited. At the same time, they also assembled the aircraft and built a simple airport for testing. Look at me, look at me. Don't let me fall in. No matter how good I am at swimming, I can't swim out. No, I don't need to be carried now. I can still walk. The little guys followed in the middle of the team. They were tied with ropes and walked in deep and shallow water. When they stepped on the mud, they were up to their thighs. Little Xiaobei was frightened and kept crying, but she didn't want to be carried. The other children were also frowning. The place in front of them was much scarier than Hongnong. Hongnong was a flood. If they fell in, they could swim out. Even if their legs were entangled by something, with their swimming ability, they had time to take out a knife from their bag and cut it. However, they couldn't do it in the swamp now. The team knew that the swamp was dangerous, so they moved very slowly. The straight-line distance from the place where they disembarked to Yizhou was more than 100 kilometers. The swamp was only 20 kilometers away. And then there was the snow mountain. After 3 days, they passed this grassland, crossed a small snow mountain, and then came the continuous mountains. When they entered the mountains, everyone was relieved. They estimated that they could reach the place after 3 or 4 days of walking and climbing. When they entered the mountains, the people of the protection team felt that the pressure was gone, and the danger could be controlled. Oh my God, it's tormenting me. Xiaobei, who hadn't taken a bath for a few days, was like a clay figure. Her little face was red from the cold. If it weren't for her watery eyes, people would mistake her for a child who had fled for half a year. Zhang Feng was obviously not relaxed. She looked down the mountain with binoculars and said, "My family lives here? I don't have any impression of it." As she was looking, she suddenly exclaimed, "Hey, there are people at the foot of the mountain. There are so many of them. They are looking at the trees to open a path. The speed of cutting is too fast. It can't be. Where did these people come from? Professional tree cutters?" Chapter 1180. The rest of the people in charge of observing had already discovered this situation. They saw that there were figures moving at the foot of the hill and the top of the mountain in front of them, as well as some small hills in the distance. Along with the movements of the figures, rows of trees were brought down. At the same time, they could see the figures of mules, wheelbarrows, and people carrying poles. There was only one word to describe the speed: fast. Without waiting for others to go forward and ask, the people below had already raised a big flag, fluttering in the wind. The word "E" was written on it. Regular Army of Yingzhou. Xiaobei nodded and said after seeing it. Xiaoyuan also came forward and frowned. Looking at the smoke floating below and in the distance, she said, "I don't remember Yingzhou having a regular army. There are less than 10,000 people in the city, and there are all kinds of strongholds on the mountain. Regular army, unless the current provincial governor has trained the soldiers, but I don't believe that other provincial governors can command the people in the strongholds. Ask brother and sister." Xiaobei was obviously not satisfied with Xiaoyuan's answer. She turned around and was about to ask when she found her brother and sister in front of her. She smiled and pointed behind her. "Look, someone is pretending to be an imperial army and intends to attack us. I think we should prepare a grenade launcher and launch a smoke bomb within 300 meters to cover our troops." Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his sister's head and said, "Don't give orders blindly. The wind is messing things up. They are 2 miles away. If they throw a smoke bomb 300 meters away, we can become smoked food. The people below are our own people. Oh, brother is still the best. You can tell at a glance that they are our own people." Xiaobei nudged Xiaoyuan, implying that her brother was better than her. Xiaoyuan held back and didn't say anything. Wang Wan smiled and said, "The scouts have reported that they knew 4 hours ago. At that time, they were still 20 miles away from here." Xiaobei was stunned. 20 miles? 4 hours to cut down trees? Flying? Which unit? Let me see. Inspector Zhang, we are from the logistics camp of Yingzhou. A voice suddenly sounded not far from Xiaobei. "Are you trying to scare me? Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless ghosts." Wow. Xiaobei quivered and reacted by turning around and putting on a pose of holding a sword with both hands. The man did not continue talking to Xiaobei. His eyes were fixed on Zhang Gang and Zhang Feng, and his mustache was tightly pursed. Zhang Feng also looked back, her eyes darting left and right. Zhang Xiaobao said, "Xiaofeng, Xiaojiang, do you know this person?" The two of them shook their heads at the same time. Zhang Feng took 2 steps forward and said, "I don't know him, but I know who he is. He must be my brother's father, right?" "Father, why did you come here personally? Is everything fine in the village?" "Yeah. Why did you come here personally?" Zhang Gang echoed. He didn't know what else to say except for this sentence. The person who came was Zhang Feng and Zhang Gang's father, Chang Hu. At this moment he didn't know what to say. He just looked at his son and then at his daughter. He nodded as he looked. He didn't cry nor did he sigh. "So it's Uncle Hu. Huh, do you still recognize Xiaobei? Look, Xiaobei has grown up. Look at elder sister Feng and elder brother Gang. Isn't it good?" Xiaobei interrupted at the right time. Even if she couldn't remember who the person opposite her was, she knew very well what to say. When Chang Hu heard the voice, he reacted. He rubbed his face with both hands and revealed what he thought was the kindest smile. He nodded and said, I remember, Xiao Bei. You're the best child. You're indeed different. After a few years outside, you're much more respectable than the people in the village. Come closer, and let me have a good look. The latter part was naturally to praise his children. He said that he wanted Xiao Bei to come closer, but he walked over himself. He touched and pinched his son. When he saw his son's eyes turn red, he slapped his son's head and said, Boy, not bad. You look like an official. Father. Zhang Fang and Zhang Gang shouted at the same time. They threw themselves into Chang Hu's arms and rubbed their heads against his body. You're a joke. You're high-ranking officials. When you go home and look at your younger brothers and sisters, they're all little mud children. They're just like you when you were young. When people see you, they know that you're from a remote place. They can't compare to you. Chang Hu laughed and hugged his children. Xiao Bei immediately said, Uncle, you're wrong. How is it remote? Compared to the people on the other side of the Straits of Malacca, our Izhou is the center. Besides, what's wrong with living in a remote place? As long as you're not biased, it's fine. Who said that, Chang, and is in the middle? If Luoyang is made the capital, Chang, and is also remote, right? Yes, Xiao Bei is still so good. Chang Hu felt comfortable and praised Xiao Bei. He turned around and greeted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Cuckoo, Xiaobao, you two have really grown up. It's a pity that Brother Zhang's future is not good. Hearing Chang Hu's words, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled. Zhang Xiaobao said, My father is still in the capital's Ministry of Works. He's really busy there and can't come over. Uncle, you can go over when you're free. I'll go this summer. I know that your father is busy. He spends all day with your emperor, our emperor, and never leaves his side. It's so hard to come out. Chang Hu deeply agreed. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed his saliva. He didn't refute that the person who spent all day with Li Longji was someone from the palace, and had nothing to do with his father. He nodded and asked, Uncle, has the provincial governor been re-established in Izhou's logistics camp? It seems that he's better than before. What does it have to do with him? After that Ngai came 2 years ago, he caused a lot of trouble. Originally, there were nearly 10,000 people in the city, but after a year, there were less than 7,000 people left. No matter how good a family is, they can't stand him eating, drinking, and playing all day. Last year, we couldn't stand it and discussed it. We all agreed that we couldn't ruin the foundation that my brother Zhang left behind, so we stopped paying him tribute in the autumn. He actually had the face to say that we weren't loyal. We talked to him about loyalty, and he agreed not to stay in the city. After he finished paying tribute to the capital before the end of the year, he kept running to Wenshan County. Chang Hu said angrily, as if he had been wronged. Zhang Xiaobao and the others silently mourned for that Ngai. Why did he run to Izhou to become the provincial governor? Did he offend someone in the imperial court? Zhang Fang raised her head from her father's arms and asked, Father, what does his eating, drinking, and playing have to do with others? It has a lot to do with it. In the past, there was a provincial governor who was very obedient. He stayed in the city every day and didn't do anything. Our strongholds didn't care about him. When the time came, we handed over the things that should be handed over to him. Whether he handed it over to the imperial court or kept it himself. We didn't let your adoptive father down. Later came. As soon as he arrived, he set up a tent outside the city and started a bonfire. He also said that he would find people to help build a 3-dimensional breeding base. The people in the city went to help. In the end, they dug trenches for an entire afternoon. At night, he started to treat people to wine and barbecue, singing and dancing. After 2 days, he didn't have enough. He sent people up the mountain to invite us to drink together. At that time, we were busy. It was spring, and we wanted more fruit in the fall. In spring, we had to prune the branches, even though they were wild fruits. After thinking about it, we gave him face and each stronghold sent a few people down with a lot of mountain goods. We weren't used to receiving favors for nothing. Who knew that he would send people again the next day? For 3 days, we really didn't have the heart to pay attention to him. In the end, guess what he did? What did he do? Zhang Feng felt that this matter was a bit familiar. When he saw that we didn't want to go down, he brought his family up. He sent over 300 kilograms of salt and wanted to drink with me. Father, did the wine run out in the end? Then he took out the wine, Zhang Feng asked. Beside them, Xiaobei added. Why does it sound similar to what father told me later? At that time, father seemed to be drinking wine with uncle. He even played a little trick. Changhu chuckled and freed up a hand to pinch Xiaobei's face. He said, Yes, and wanted to learn from your father. When your father was with us, we really didn't have much wine. That day, your father drank a year's worth of wine. But now, how could we lack wine? He found more than 100 people who could drink. He pulled me and began to talk. He said something about being loyal. How many people in our stronghold could drink? In the end, more than 100 people drank until they vomited. He drank all the wine? Xiaobei asked. He wanted to drink all the wine in the 60 large wine cellars? Unless he became a Haizi and solved the problem with 12 jars of wine. Each jar was 50 kilograms. Our stronghold could drink to our heart's content while they were finished. My wine cellar had 9 horizontal, 9 vertical, and 980 horizontal jars. And then? He said he had good wine? Xiaobei asked again. He collapsed, and so did many of us. The next day's work was delayed. Don't you think it's infuriating? Xiaobei nodded. Yes, he wanted to replace the little affection my father left in Wingzhou. Changhu pinched Xiaobei's face again. We saw it. After sending them away the next day, he didn't invite them to drink. Even if he invited us, we didn't go. Your father was different from him. Your father really wanted to build Wingzhou. He wanted to get benefits for himself. Who would have thought that he wouldn't give up? He invited people to eat and drink every day in and outside the city. In less than a month, he ran out of money. He couldn't compare with your father, Brother Zhang. Brother Zhang really had the ability to treat people. So and had to treat him even if he didn't have the money. A month later, he began to negotiate with all the shops in the city. He either solicited or accepted, or put on credit or borrowed. He even went to the prefecture outside to get money. 3 out of 10 people in Wing Province City left, and those who left were all people who used to have a little bit of money. After saying that, Changhu made a helpless expression. The people around him also sighed. Zhang Feng pouted and said with a sullen face, Father, he's too much of a scammer. He's courting death, Xiaobei added. Father, what about now? Zhang Gang asked. He won't come back now. I said before that the strongholds banded together and didn't hand over anything. We drove him away and told him that as long as he didn't come back to make trouble, we would give him something every year. When he comes back, he won't get anything. Changhu sighed. Oh yes, they said that he's staying in Wenshan County. What's good about that place? Zhang Feng asked again. That place belongs to Maozhou. Wenshan County is rich. At least that Ngai won't have to worry about food and drink there. I heard that he's asking the local county magistrate for advice on local economics. He wants to learn well and use it in Wingzhou to wash away his shame. Let's not talk about him. The road below is being repaired. Come with me. The logistics camp in Wingzhou is actually made up of people from our various strongholds. When Cuckoo and Xiaobao were established, they were very famous. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo left, we took over. We can't lose our reputation. At that time the people left, but the spirit is still there. Changhu said a few more words. He felt that there was no need to continue arguing about that Ngai. He pointed down. The road had already been paved. Not only were the trees on the road cut down, but they had also paved the road. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other again. Zhang Xiaobao said, Our reputation is still there. Driving 20 kilometers of road in 4 hours is enough to kill our enemies. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.